welcome to the Transfer Exchange Show. I'm your host, Kieran Stewart, and we have a jam-packed show today. We've got new guests on, starting today with Abbi Summers. How you doing, Abbi?
Good. How are you? Nice to see you guys.
I'm good. And we've got Nathan Ellington, of course, as always. How you doing, Nathan?
Not bad. Could be better.
All right. He's got a lot to say, I think. He's holding it back. We've got Steve K. How you doing, Steve?
How you doing, everybody? Thanks for joining us.
Good. And we've got Jerome Marks. How you doing, Jerome?
Yeah, spot on. Hi, everyone.
All right, he's a happy man. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've got Man United's update with Nathan. We've obviously got Abbi in to talk about Manchester City versus Tottenham game. We've also got Andy Hampson coming in to talk about Manchester City and that game as well. And there was a few other games we might talk about. You know what I mean? There's plenty of transfer talk as always. We've got the Guardian top 60, and we've also got a little update. Just if no one's been keeping tabs on as Nathan likes to call him, the Black Messi, Ahmed Diallo. Jerome's going to give us a little update on how he's been doing since he's been at Man United. And he was on the bench the other day against West Ham as well. So let's start with you, Nathan. How you been? How you feeling? Started off well. It weren't a great game against West Ham, but you got through to the next round. How was that for you?
To be fair, this week I might as well forget about it because I've been watching. I wanted to turn the game off.
It was dire, weren't it? I was trying to smile, but it was dire.
It was so boring. I just didn't want to watch. You know, it got to the full time, and I just didn't want to watch further on. And good job, McTominay got on, and Bruno came on, and then we managed to get the goal because I turned it off by that time. And I was on a call. So I normally say, listen, call me after the match, but just bring the call forward now. So it wasn't the best, to be fair. I was not happy at all, to be fair.
Why do you think it was so flat? It was almost as if it could have been still players' day and there was never going to be a goal in normal time.
There was just not many shots. There was nothing really going on. And, obviously, like I told you before, I don't like seeing too many slower players on the pitch. And we've got Matic that day. We had Maguire and Lindelof. I just don't like when three players in the most important places are playing. And then obviously you've got Van der Beek. He had to play a bit further forward. I'd rather he played in the Matic's position. And then we had Bruno still in there. Or at least we gave a little run out to Diallo. Let him come on. I was sitting there just thinking, please just bring Diallo on so I can just watch him. But he didn't come on either. He just brought on all the subs apart from him. And I was like, he's definitely not coming on now. Let's make that phone call. So, it's annoying. We got through. I was happy.
You got through. And at the end of the day, look, you was up against the West Ham team who've been in excellent form this season. So, look, the important thing was getting through to the next round, which you did. But then today, West Bromwich Albion, second bottom, a team that, okay, some may think that Sam Allardyce can do something. They may have a little bit of a spark because they've got a couple of new players in, but you've got to be taking points off West Brom, surely.
Exactly. They're at the bottom for a reason. And, like I told you, I've been saying before, when those two play at the back, I like Maguire for certain things he can do, and I also like Lindelof. But when they both play together, we are like I'd say, a 7th, 8th position defence when we should be a top 2. With Bailly in there, it brings us up a bit more and we're much stronger. I would have loved to have seen Bailly play today, and it would have made us much more defensively stronger. And we didn't need to play Fred as well today. It wasn't one of those games where you're going to be not having the ball and you're going to have to defend more. That's where you bring in Van der Beek in that game. And then we go and take it to him. That's only if you have Bailly in there. And I think, like I said, he always puts in those two if he's going to play Maguire and Lindelof to cover them. Put Bailly in, don't need to cover him. Put Van der Beek in. He's going to move the ball a bit quicker because we were flat today. Everyone was taking 5-6 touches before they passed the ball. No spaces. We know quick football opens up spaces. We just move the ball slowly. And that's what you get. A goal early. Look how he beasted the defence. The striker at West Brom. He beasted the defence first minute. Then he beasted him again. And then he scored again. We should have lost that game in the end. They had the better chances.
He was bullying Maguire, which I don't think I've seen this season, and Lindelof in the first half. But what I found odd was that, as you said, you had two defensive midfielders playing. I couldn't. Maguire was breaking through all the time. Why was McTominay so far away from Fernandes in the first half? And it just wasn't happening.
It's because we just need to cover that back too. If we have Bailly in there, we don't need to do that. And then to make matters worse, obviously, I'm normally actually quite, talking well about Man United, but obviously it's been bad this week. So I have to say it how it is. Martial didn't do well today, didn't really do anything. And Greenwood should have started because he played well in the week as well. But I guess he was just trying to maybe give him a bit of a rest. That's probably why he put Martial in. It seems like, I don't know, it's not working out with Martial playing on the left. It's like he plays up front now or nothing, because he didn't give us anything. Greenwood comes on and he starts running at us, running at the team. And that's what we need. We need someone to run, try and link up 1-2s. And that's what he was doing. And I loved it when he came on, because it was a little bit of a spark and we needed more of that. That's why I hoped Diallo was on the bench so he could be another person to bring on. But again, he wasn't.
But the thing is, with Cavani up there up top, there's and being that focal point, there's not really too many sort of options for Martial to be in that spot. I mean, it seems to be working with Cavani. I mean, it wasn't brilliant today, but in recent weeks, Cavani's been a good asset.
Yeah, he has. He really has, to be fair. I think you could just give Cavani a rest one day and play Martial up front, and then swap with them. So then Greenwood swaps with Diallo or something, and Rashford is on the left. So you can kind of work it out the best way possible, and I think that probably would be the best way, because Martial's now got used to playing up front. You don't even see him running on the ball anymore, like taking anyone on. Last time I've seen that, it's been quite a while now. So it's just disappointing that we played quite flat today, and even though we let in a goal after first couple minutes, I just felt like, where's the goal coming from? And it took something special from Bruno to get a goal, and then there's still not much going on, and it's West Brom. They've let in so many goals recently, and we couldn't get more than one goal.
I think what didn't help is Bruno Fernandes in that first half was horrible to watch. His link up play was poor. He was losing the ball. He was getting frustrated with whatever, getting involved in things he shouldn't be getting involved in. It was just, his head was gone. And it seems to be, if he's not ticking, Man United might not be ticking. Do you feel that's the case?
You know what, though? When it comes to that, the players are not moving. It's like when Pogba played before and everyone's saying he's not playing well. See, if you're playing and you're looking up and no one's moving, you can't play a ball. There's no one to play the ball to. So Bruno's trying to do anything he can. He's trying to force play because no one's making moves. So it was very difficult. I see Rashford obviously trying his best, and Cavani was in the box, always trying to make his runs. But again, we're not that kind of team that play like fluid. You get overlappers who first time cross it in, and Shaw's getting better. Wan-Bissaka's getting better of that. But again, it's not something, we're getting better, and that's basically it. And today was a game where you really need to get overlappers and crossing in to get Cavani on the end of things. And there was nothing through the middle, and there was really nothing through the fence. So it was just a bad game.
Pogba, Nathan, with Pogba, I mean, we've had over the last, it seems forever, is he going, isn't he? Shall we sell him? Should we keep him? Did it realise over the last two games how much you need him, how much you need to keep him, and how big a loss it would be if he left?
Of course, he's a quality player. We know that he's one of the best players in the world. When he's got good players around him as well, it makes his job easier. And every time Rashford makes a run, he sees it straight away and puts him in. And that's the kind of difference you have today, where when Fred and McTominay, they got different strengths, they're not going to see that ball. Or if they do see it, they're not going to be able to play that ball straight away. So it's a totally different game when them two defensive midfielders, pretty much defensive midfielders, you know what I mean? Someone without that eye for that pass straight away. But then you got Donny van der Beek, who I thought would be a great player to come in now. He can do that. He passes the ball one touch. He came on, he linked up quite well. But again, United don't even play that well. So I see them missing him out so many times. He's on the pitch asking for it in the right areas. they don't want to find him.
They don't pass him. Someone said that to me today. Yeah.
They touch the ball 3 or 4 times and then pass it, and it's too late. So it needs to be quickened up. We need to get Donny in the game, especially if Pogba's going to be out. He needs to be playing and get us to do some more.
And that's that thing. You're noticing things where when Pogba's not there because he's been in good form. It's going to be hard for someone like Donny van der Beek to just come in after not playing many games at all and then just be sort of kind of expected to sort of jump in and hit the ground running. Jerome, you had a little look at Diallo in his first 2 games for Man United under-23s this week, or a couple of weeks ago. How far do you think he's off from being in that Man United team?
Well, one thing's for sure, he's way too good for the under-23s.
Yeah.
You can see these. I mean, he scored a brace on his debut for the under-23s, set up another couple of goals. He scored one of those, Panenka penalties on his debut. And he just looks so sort of confident. He's like hit the ground running for the under-23s. And when he's in dangerous positions, you can tell he's good because he's just so calm and composed. Like, he's not flashing at anything. He's setting players up. I'm sure Nathan will admit, like, United fans want to see him in the first team now. It's like it's time, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm sure he'll play soon. Maybe he's just come over, so it's hard to expect someone to come in straight away and play. But yeah, he's too good for the under-23s, and so the next step is the first team, and I'm sure it won't be too long.
Well, Nathan, I'd just like to say, if you don't know about Jerome, when Jerome says these things happen, so many names he's said this season, no pressure, Jerome, that he's backed, and then names we'd be bigging up, and he's gone,
I'll tell you what, this guy, I'm going to triple captain him in my fantasy team.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I took Aubameyang out this week, and look what happened. So he's not going back in. He's not going back in. All right. We are now joined by Andy Hampson. How you doing, Andy?
Hi. Yeah, I'm great. Thanks. Good to speak to you.
And I'm sure you're extra happy after yesterday's win.
Well, they certainly played very well, City, yesterday. Very impressive performance. They're looking really good now. It's looking ominous for the competition, I think. They've just they're slowly, it took them a while to get going this season, but they've slowly built this momentum. From about mid-December, they've been looking really, really strong, and it's starting to look a bit like 2017-18 now, I think. There doesn't seem to be any stopping them.
And without a striker as well. Well,
absolutely, yeah. I mean, well, Gabriel Jesus played.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gabriel. This is why he wants to go. This is why he wants to leave. He's getting no respect. He's getting no ratings. But without the big man, Aguero.
Yeah, well, Aguero's not been playing. I think he's coming back soon. He was on the bench yesterday. It was always unlikely he was going to play. He's only had a couple of sessions since he was out with COVID. Yeah, obviously they've missed him, and he scores a phenomenal amount of goals, but they've done quite well without him, and they're playing quite well without Kevin De Bruyne as well at the moment. They found a system that works. They've a few weaknesses last season, obviously in defence. They've resolved them, and from there, the confidence has just flown throughout the team, really. And you've got players like Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva, who probably fell away last season a bit, really. They're a bit below par. They've really come to the party now. And obviously, Phil Foden as well, getting more opportunities, really looking the business. An impressive unit at the moment, City. Absolutely, forward, front to back.
And you've got Ederson taking over from De Bruyne, as the playmaker.
and wanted to take penalties as well. See him today. It's time to sit down, mate. Get back. We do that from time to time. We think we're better than everyone else, and we do need to be told to get back in the box. So it was funny to see. Abbi, I remember the last time you came on. It was looking very positive for Tottenham. We were saying that Tottenham have a very good chance of doing something in the league this season. The Mourinho effect was flying high, but it seems like the harshness that we were sort of saying was shaking the tree and loosening some of them weak apples seems to have sort of tilted the apple cart a bit too much, and it's gone the other way. What's happening at Tottenham?
I'm honestly lost for words. I can't wrap my head around how a team, look, realistically, we were never going to win the league, but how a team that can be in contention of some kind, 7 weeks ago sitting top of the league, can fall away so badly, can go from being a pretty, good defensive unit that he'd turned them kind of into, to not even being able to defend anything, constantly tinkering with the back line, whether or not that's to do with him not knowing who he prefers. I think he desperately wanted to stick with Eric Dyer, and then he realised he couldn't, and then he had to change things up, and then obviously he keeps trying to bring him back in and things like that. But, it's difficult with Mourinho because I don't think people were necessarily on board at the beginning. And then obviously the season finished after the restart. Then the documentary came out, got loads of people back on side to kind of turn over a new leaf with him. And then no one liked the football we were playing. Yes, we were scoring goals, but it was still very boring. Unless it was on the counter, there wasn't anything exciting for us. And I think the Tottenham fans kind of accepted that. Okay, well, this is how Mourinho plays, but you can't argue with it if you're getting results every week, because results at the end of the day, that's what matters. So if it took us to sit and have 1-0s for the rest of the season, but win trophies, then I think everyone was okay with it. But as soon as it starts falling away, the difference between when it fell away for Pochettino and how it's falling away for Jose is that under Pochettino, they still look like they could do something in a game. They still look like they could come on, they could attack the game, and they'd take the game to the opponent, regardless who it was. You never ever saw him sit back and play that type of defensive, stale, stagnant, toothless football. Whereas with Jose, it's like he's trying to toy with the fans now because he knows the fans hate his style of play. So he basically said, okay, I'm going to let the team just go and attack now, how he did against Everton, right? But you're going to see that this team can't defend unless everyone sits behind the ball. And then it's a bloodbath, which is exactly what happened on Wednesday. And then yesterday, I don't even know what happened yesterday. No one expected to win yesterday because City are that good. But, yesterday, just the individual errors. I thought Lloris was terrible. The whole defence was just shambolic. There was absolutely nothing going forward. And look, whether or not it comes down to Jose or not, he then throws Bale and Dele on and thinks they're going to save him after he's, not been the nicest to them this season. It's typical Jose. It's what happens to him at other clubs. The players don't like it. And in my opinion, it looks like the players don't really care. I just didn't think there was anything about that performance yesterday which showed any of them were bothered playing for even pride yesterday. They just were all over the place. It's awful to watch. Awful.
As a supporter, what would you rather see? Would you rather see the expansive football that you saw on Wednesday and maybe get some results with 4-2s, 3-2s, 3-1s? Or would you like to see what is going on now and potentially, as you could still win a trophy?
It's I don't know. I think it splits. I think the fans are kind of split over this because they got what they asked for, and the fact that they wanted to see us play more attacking football. But it reminded me of the 90s and early 2000s, with that Tottenham going forward all the time, but always conceding a shed load of goals because we cannot defend. So I don't have an issue necessarily while Jose's here, whether it's until the end of the season or another season. I don't mind necessarily playing the boring football if we can get the results at the end of it. If you can't get the results at the end of it and you're just playing that boring football and you're not getting a result, then I would rather see us go and attack the game, because Tottenham's best asset is their attack. It's certainly not their defence. So if we're going to just try and defend every game and still lose and concede, I would rather than just go all out attack.
So true.
It's one of them as well. I think where Jose has set out his stall and he's getting players to play in a certain way. Players like Lo Celso, Son, Moura, they're taking away that sort of attacking flair from them. So it's hard. It's hard for them to get on board with that, and especially when results start going the other way, that's when it looks like it's going wrong. Andy, one player you just mentioned there previously was Gundogan. What is it that's changed from him? Is it the fact that he's had a nice run without injuries? He's just getting a good run in the team. What is this turnaround?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of that, certainly. He did have a bad knee injury in his first season at City, 2016-17. He's had other niggly problems since, but also he's played a deeper role than he's playing at the moment. And I think I think Rodri coming in this season and improving considerably. If you think back to September when they lost 5-2 to Leicester, Rodri was awful that day. And I think that was his nadir, really. Since then, Rodri has improved steadily, and he looks the real deal at the moment. He does look quite good, but he's playing that deep-lying midfield role that they missed last season. He didn't really perform last season while Fernandinho was playing in defence. They didn't have that. Now Rodri's providing that. I think that's freed Gundogan up a bit more to get forward and and attack more. We always knew he could pass, but we're seeing his passing ability even more now, and he's popping up in the right places in and around the box. And he's proven he's a pretty good finisher. And I think Guardiola trusts him absolutely 100%, and he's reveling in it, really. The confidence is growing. And unfortunately, he did go off with a groin injury yesterday. We're not sure how serious that is yet. Hopefully, it's not too bad. But he's certainly thriving. With the Guardiola's showing in him.
Can I ask Abbi and Andy the same question? But about the opposite clubs. Andy first, what did you think of Spurs when they played on Saturday?
Well, to me, Abbi said it all, really. I mean, they do look a dull and uninspiring team at the moment, and defensively, they don't look confident at all. To be honest, I went to the game expecting City to win. I never really had any doubt. Sometimes you have in the back of your mind, you just never know in football, what can happen. But really, I just didn't expect anything other than a City win, really. Spurs just look completely devoid of all inspiration at the moment. It's like Jose Mourinho. He lost the dressing room at Chelsea. He lost it at Manchester United. And you can see it kind of going the same way again, really, unless they do something to inject a little bit of excitement, really, and a spark that they just don't have that. He spent the week moaning about Gareth Bale. He brought him in. What a wonderful asset he could be, but he's not utilising him at all. But then again, you could argue when Bale's played, he hasn't actually looked that interested in himself. It's a bit of a strange situation. That you've got Dele Alli as well. He doesn't seem to trust him. I don't know. It's a really strange one. They seem to have lost the ability to defend, and it's hard to claw back, I guess. I
think we're all a little bit, even me. I mean, that we haven't seen the best of Bale. I mean, we see that little bit of skill from him in the game on Saturday, where he sort of shimmied one way, shimmied another, and got a shot off, and you were sort of like, why can't we see this every week? But who knows? Hopefully, we do see something of him, in the future, because he's a world-class player. What do you think of City, Abbi, at the moment? Is the league won? Is it done? Is it finished? Is it over?
I mean, they're cut above the rest, but then again, they should be a cut above the rest, and it's look. I'd love to be bought by an Arab and have the money pumped in. Genuinely, that would make me so happy to see that my club go down the same route that City have. I would love it. I would not care where that money came from, as long as it goes back into the team. And that's my biggest problem with ENIC. And I'm sure we'll touch on that later on. I'll hold my tongue for now. But City are amazing. And watching how Liverpool are compared to City. I still think that City are the better team, regardless of last season. I just think that they're so. You had an issue last season defensively, but just one player has sorted that out for you. He's like reinvigorated John Stones, who was heading out the door. And you think that incredible player, and you just think that one player has that effect, on the rest of the team. That's incredible. Yeah. Similar to Liverpool with Van Dijk, but also, they've also got Alisson, and regardless of what happened last week with Alisson, he's still an incredible keeper. But for me, City, the fact that you don't have someone when Aguero's out the team, you don't have I know you have Jesus, but everyone seems to always forget about Jesus. Like we said, he's just not the same type of player that Aguero is. But you've got so much strength in depth in other positions. It doesn't really matter if they're not there. You're still your B team, as it will be, is just as good as your first team. They're such a pleasure to watch. That yesterday, as upset and annoyed I was with Tottenham, it looked like the players turned up there knowing they were going to get beat before they even stepped on the pitch, which is so Tottenham owned, and that's what wound me up the most. It was so pre-Poch mentality, like going back to like the Sherwood days and that in-between period after Redknapp and AVB, and that period, they turned up thinking they were going to lose. And you could just see it from their body language and everything. And as soon as they got the penalty, I just think their heads were even more dropped. And it's tough to play against a team like City, but you have to give credit where it is. City are an incredible team. Incredible.
Yeah, that's one thing that you may see with the City team. You said about John Stones. You said about Andy. You spoke about Gundogan. Modern day man management is extremely important to make sure that you're keeping your whole squad happy, letting the players know that are on the fringes that they're a part of it, making them feel they're a part of it, while still keeping that first team consistently going. It just seems that Mourinho hasn't got that balance. It seems that he's got his favourites, and the rest know that they're second best. And when they come into the fold, you're kind of asking them, like, knowing that they're second best, you're asking them to come in and do a job, and it doesn't seem to be working.
And that's exactly what he does to players, isn't it? And that's what he did at United. He destroyed United from inside out, really. At the beginning, we looked all good, and then all of a sudden, a year later, he's trashing the players when we got second. Like, you know, that's his best achievement, that we come second. What's that say to the defenders? How do they feel when they think, oh my gosh, he thinks I'm crap, but we just actually overachieved, and then he wants me to do well. So then he killed Pogba off, and he killed Fred off. He brought Fred in and then didn't even play him, and then put Pereira on for one game, took him out after that one mistake and killed his confidence. Obviously, he's probably not good enough anyway, but it's the way the manager does the man management, and I think that's what he's doing at Tottenham. When he first come, I was thinking, wow, Tottenham looking strong at the back. You know, he's put Dyer at the back. I think he had 5 as well, and there's a great counter-attacking. Then all of a sudden now, I'm like, where's all that gone? Like, what's happened?
But don't you think, Nathan, that can only go because the players decide it's going to go? Like I said earlier, how can you go from having, you know, one of the best defensive records in the league this season, hardly conceded, you know, the first, you know, 3 months of the season, and then just have a complete capitulation where you cannot defend? Surely that comes from them also thinking, no, like a bit of a fuck you to him, thinking, well, you know, if you're going to keep saying, I don't tell you to play this way, and you know, me slagging everyone off, you know, everyone knows he had a thing with Aurier in the changing room a few weeks ago. Was it the Chelsea game? Everyone knows what he's done to Delhi this season. He's taken Sissoko in and out of the team as well. You know, him and Ndombele only just got back on good terms. That must have an effect. And it's not about being Jose in or out. It's just calling it how it is. You know, you can see his patterns from when he was at Chelsea, when he was at United. And I remember at the start of the season being on a podcast with Aaron Paul, who works for BBC, and he's a United fan and another Spurs supporter. And Aaron said, just you watch, he will do to your club what he did to our club. And, you know, this other Spurs fan was like, no, it's not going to happen to us, blah, blah, blah. And I was very anti-Jose at the time. And it just shows you that it's a combination of a lot of things at Tottenham. It's not just Jose and it's not just the board, but and it's the players. The combination of all three is causing what is going on here. But you can't sack a squad. You can't sack a squad.
You kind of feel.
Can I ask Abbi something?
At times. Go
on. Obviously, at the moment, there's quite a bit of negativity around Mourinho. Say the league form continues to not be fantastic, and Spurs finish sort of mid-table-ish, but they end up winning the Carabao Cup. Will that have an impact in terms of whether Mourinho stays or not? Like, if he wins the cup, does that mean that we can't get rid of him?
Well, my feeling on it is that Daniel Levy made a very, very big decision, one that didn't go down particularly well in sacking Pochettino, you know, and you look at how fans still talk about him. It's very rare that a manager leaves a club and he's still so adored by fans. Very, very rare, you know, so he sacked him because he's always wanted Jose. He absolutely loves the guy for whatever reason. And he's brought him in to win trophies. And you can't argue with the fact that is why Jose goes to clubs. You know, he's a proven trophy winner. Whether or not he does it with Spurs, jury's very much out on that one. I still think he won't manage to do it. From a Daniel Levy perspective, I think that he will keep him. I don't think that even if we finish mid-table and we win a cup, the Carabao Cup, I still think he'll keep him for the fact that I don't think Daniel Levy will admit he made the wrong decision yet. I think it will have to be a really, really dire situation. Like next season, if we carry on the way it is, and by October, November time, we're bottom 3, bottom 4. I think that's when he'd make the call. But I just cannot see him getting rid of him anytime soon. And I think fans want him to keep losing because I think they think that he'll go. The guy's on £15 million a year. He's not going anywhere. And Daniel Levy made such a big call for him to say he was wrong. Still quite early on, I just can't see it. I can't see it happening.
Andy, on the other end, on the other side of the coin, Pep Guardiola. Will this go down as being his? If he wins the title, which it looks like he is, will this go down as his biggest achievement, winning it with City?
That's a difficult one because obviously 3 years ago they racked up 100 points, phenomenal season. They won the title by a streak. That was a huge achievement, and they followed that up by winning the domestic treble, first team ever to do that. So 2 magnificent achievements there. It'd be hard to top that. But this season has been a masterclass, really. They've timed it superbly because when you think they were still playing in the middle of August in the Champions League, that they've had a couple of weeks off and come straight back into the season with no pre-season training whatsoever, straight from holiday to playing. Not that they did much during the holidays. I don't know. Just sat at home, I guess. But they've come straight back into it. It took them a while to get going, but I don't think they were too concerned about it because I think they looked at the fixture list. So it's going to be quite a condensed program for everybody. We've got all these Carabao Cup games, and we've got all these league games coming in December, January, February in the midweeks. No one's really going to have any respite. So. And we've seen Liverpool been hit badly by injuries. They found it tough. The teams have gone top. Tottenham, one of them went top of the league, fell away. Everton were top early on. They've fallen away. City have just timed the run perfectly, and that's brilliant management. But, for my mind, it would be an incredible achievement. Yeah, and he's dealt with the squad so well, really. He manages it so superbly. The way he's dealt with Phil Foden over the years, some people could argue he's had more opportunity. He does seem to have got it right with him. The way he's brought Diaz in and he's slotted in superbly.
And Cancelo.
You know what? I want to add to that as well, to be fair.
Oh yeah, Cancelo was an interesting one because last season the talk was that Cancelo arrived and he was a bit taken aback by the demands Guardiola was placing on the players in training, and he wasn't quite fit enough. He wasn't up to speed. It's taken him a while to get there. Now he has found the right level. He's
incredible player.
Superb.
Yeah. I just want to quickly mention about this Guardiola because when he became a manager, all the clubs he went to, he kind of took over great squads, and then they went and won it. And a lot of people said, well, he's taken over a great squad. It's nothing amazing. But when he's took over City now, like obviously they had, for the most part, most of the players were already there. But now he's had to he's seen some players go, and he's had to bring in and replace them players. And I thought, at the start of the season, obviously, you kind of getting the hangover the same as United had at the beginning of the season because we had a late finish and then we had obviously didn't have much of a pre-season. But for them to come back and to play the way they're playing now, I think that's just an amazing achievement for Guardiola to have picked the right players to fit back in that squad and to play the superior football they're playing again. I think that's just a great, he's got a great eye for the right player in his team that fits his exact way he wants to play. That's just something that many managers can't do. It's like Jose, he can't find them players anymore. He needs a whole squad to play the way he wants to play. If one player's not there, that team's not great enough. And he just needs to buy till he finds that right one. Guardiola seems to be able to find that one. I know it took him a few times. Everyone doesn't get it right 100%. But for the most part, he's got the right players, the right way of playing, great football to watch. Loads of goals and not letting in goals he's not letting in goals for how many games now has it been clean sheets?
That's the scary thing. That's the scary thing because
they're going to win the league for sure.
Yeah.
Because Man City are known for their forward play, and the fact that they're keeping clean sheets is just like they're going to score past you, and now they're not letting you concede. That is why teams are just rolling over and pause up and just giving up before the game's even started.
What he's doing as well, what he's already done with Phil Foden, which he's doing the
what a player he is! Oh my god,
unbelievable. Well, it seems to be. Well, Andy will be able to answer it, but he seems to be doing the same thing with Ferran Torres. You know, bringing that odd one game, that odd two game, then you're not seeing him for about a month. But I think next season, I think you watch Ferran Torres fly.
That's right. But Leroy Sané was similar as well when he first arrived at City. The first 3 or 4 months, he wasn't seen very often. People would say, well, why is he signed in? You know, he hardly features at all. He doesn't seem to be good enough, but he soon proved he was. I think the man management is interesting. You're talking about Jose. From what working in the Northwest, I used to deal with Roberto Martinez a bit when he was at Wigan and he was at Everton, and he's at one extreme. He's always praising the players all the time, and then it seems at the other end of the extreme, you've got Jose, who's a sort of tough love manager, and all players are different, aren't they? The players need one or the other, and I think Guardiola's an absolute master really identifying which players need which kind of approach, and he consistently gets the best out of players. I know he has fallen out with players in the past at clubs he's been at. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was one of them. Rivaldo, I think he's had problems with. But generally speaking, he finds a way to get the best out of players. He's not just a brilliant tactician and obsessive about football. He actually knows how to deal with players. He's brilliant at it. He's inspirational.
And he can get rid of a player if he's not good enough either, and that's what I need United to be doing now. Guardiola's just straight away. If he's not good enough, off you go, lad. Let's bring someone else, and that's what we need.
As you were saying with Pep, with regards to the man management, it's not as if we haven't seen him fall out with players at Man City. It's not as if we haven't heard arguments. It's not as if we haven't heard players disgruntled that they're not in the squad. But he's still managed to then get them back in the squad, get them playing well, and feeling like they're a part of it. That seems to be the difference, and that seems to be that's what you need as a modern day manager to have that balance. That you've got that stern, strict side, but you've also got that arm around the shoulder and letting the other players know they're part of it.
Yeah, I mean, Abbi, I just want to ask Abbi saying what Nathan and Andy can, or everyone can really. I mean, are Mourinho and Klopp and Guardiola all very similar? Are they of the same trait?
Well, sorry, go on, you go, Andy.
Yeah, I'd certainly bracket Guardiola and Klopp together. I think they're both, inspirational, influential managers, and I can't imagine there'd be too many players that wouldn't want to play for them. The way they, as I've said about Guardiola, Klopp's very similar. He gets the best out of players. He's just full of the joys of spring. Well, most of the time, anyway. He has been. He has been throughout most of his time at Liverpool. I think they're both fantastic managers. Mourinho, a little bit different, I think. I think he's from a different school of thought, far more defensive-minded, really. I don't think he's cutting edge anymore. I mean, he's still a very good manager, but I don't think he's quite at the cutting edge that Guardiola and Klopp are. Although, that said, this could have been a season when Tottenham won the title. Just what I've said about the schedule and the disrupted summer, that could have played into Tottenham's hands if they'd have got it right. He's all about defending, isn't he, Mourinho, and parking the bus and all that sort of thing. Well, that's just not what they're doing effectively at the moment. So, I put Guardiola and Klopp together, not so much Mourinho.
Go on, Abbi.
I think you're spot on, by the way. But I think with Jose is that he's been in management for so long that when you think of his days at Porto and Inter and Chelsea the first time, and even Madrid, you think, wow, it's Jose Mourinho. But in the last 6-7 years, it's just his price has dropped. Like, people don't look at Jose the same way they look at Pep and the same way they look at Guardiola. Klopp, because he hasn't evolved with times, with how football's evolved, whereas the other two do and have, and always happy to play expansive, attractive football. Jose hates conceding a goal. So the other night against Everton, it must have been his worst nightmare seeing us concede 5 in one game. It must have been his nightmare. So you think about how players have evolved as well, and they like having an arm around them. They like having a good man manager, and it might have worked 10, 15 years ago, that approach, that tough love approach, but it doesn't work now, and players are a lot more fragile than they ever were. They are, and I just don't think that Jose's approach works in a modern game. And I think that he wanted to do with Tottenham what he did at Chelsea and at Inter, having that amazing defense and never conceding. It doesn't work at Tottenham. You have to look at the personnel you have in your squad, and you've decided to put Eric Dyer in defence, who has not played as a defender until you came in. The first season under Poch, yes, he did, and then for the 4 seasons after that, he was in midfield. You've come in, you put him as a defender where he obviously wanted to be, but you're asking him to do a job that like John Terry did or that Carvalho did, and he's neither of those players. So I think you have to assess the squad you have and work with the squad. You can't just implement your idea and keep shoving it down their throat and hoping that it works, because clearly it's not working with the personnel he has. They're not good enough, and that's not necessarily his fault. It's not his fault, because apart from Rodon, and Reguilon, he's inherited everyone in that squad bar Reguilon, Rodon, and Doherty. But the actual centre halves, as in Sanchez, Toby, Eric Dyer, that he's using at the minute, he's inherited them. But you have to stop shoving it down their throat that you want them to play in a certain way when they're just obviously not good enough to do so.
So it's funny you should mention the 5-4, because I don't even remember back in 2004, Tottenham lost a game to Arsenal 5-4. And this was right at the height of Mourinho's rivalry with Wenger, when he was at Chelsea. And obviously this game had nothing to do with Jose Mourinho at the time, but he was asked about it in one of his press conferences. And he said something like 5-4, I'd be embarrassed. That's a hockey score, not a football score.
You said a lot of stuff, which is
so here we are all these years later. Yeah, he lost the game 5-4.
Now, one thing though, if you talk about those 3 managers, Jose Mourinho is probably, in terms of what he's done in the game, he's probably the top. So in terms of achievements, definitely is the top. But then when you look at the other 2, I see those making it about their players. And what Jose does makes it about himself. And when he kept winning and winning and winning, you do get that kind of ego, is wherever I go, it's me. Yeah. I'm the one who's going to make it happen. And I think that's what happened. He comes to United, and then it's a thing of, it's you versus me, the players. And then he's gone to Tottenham, and it's the same kind of thing. And it kind of, it just kills players. They don't want to play for you when that happens. It's happened in the past in my career. But obviously, that I don't want to talk about managers and stuff. But basically, when that happens, you kind of just feel a different way about going in and training and stuff. And you're not thinking altogether about, let's go and win the league, let's go and do this. There's other things in the way as well. So I think that's what Jose's done a lot. And that's why I don't put him in the same bracket as those 2 in terms of how they treat their team, how they manage their players, and how they're going to get the best out of their players now. And that's what Jose is failing to do as much as he did before. And then coming to the way he plays, remember, he's not just about defending. Remember, his Chelsea team scored the most in the league as well as So he knows what to do. He prides himself on letting in no goals and then having beast attack to go and get them goals. But then when he gets a team that doesn't have the ability to do it, he's trying to enforce that same thing, which you can't do because you don't have the players. So he doesn't know how to improvise while he's getting that team together. He either has that team together or don't. So you win or you just don't. You're nowhere near it. So that's the problem, I think. Yeah,
with Mourinho, I think a bit of it is he's a bit of a victim of his own success. Like, he's been so successful everywhere he's been. It's like the expectations on him are massive, and there's so much competition now that it's not as easy as it was then. Because obviously it was difficult then, but he's just set the bar so high for himself that it's difficult to reach again. So
I think it's hard. I do think it's harder now because I think that there's a lot of teams that are of a similar level. You go back 10, 15 years and you always had the traditional top 4 the traditional top four isn't really the traditional top four anymore. It's always changing.
Yeah.
And you look, because they always had the teams that just had the money, but you look at someone like Leicester, you know, they've got amazing owners, always back the manager, always invest in their squad. You know, you've got Wolves, you've got, you know, I guess Tottenham have come up, Everton have come up, and even teams like Villa, Leeds, look at Villa. Like, it's a lot harder to succeed in this league now. And I think that's where, you know, obviously City do have the financial backing, but it just shows you that to be a cut above the rest, how Liverpool were last season, and obviously City, how they are going this season, it really takes an incredible squad to be able to, not just a starting 11, a squad. And that is what really wins titles, having the strength in depth and being able to actually have that amount of quality in as position as you can.
Yeah.
You know what I find with Pep and with Jose and, you know, managing their teams, with Pep, he's got an incredible bunch of youngsters who you can see what he's doing with, and it shows that he's bringing them through slowly. You can see the Fodens, you can see what he's doing with Ferran Torres, see what he's doing with the guys that he sent out on loan recently. Tottenham, to be fair, they've got equally as good as youngsters. They've got some excellent youngsters, but I don't know if Mourinho is that type of manager to bring those through. Then I mean, Abbi will be able to answer it, answer it better than me. But is he that type of manager who can bring through youngsters?
Well, you'd have to say that so far he's brought through Japhet Tanganga. He gave him his debut, so I think he's a player. I think I look forward to seeing him. I think yesterday he actually was one of the only people that came out of it without a scathing review. But you know, and also it'd be an interesting one with Oliver Skipp, because he is tearing up the Championship with Norwich. And I mean, every Tottenham fan I see is like, recall him, bring him back now. Like, he's gonna, be Iniesta all of a sudden in that Tottenham team. But he's, I want, you know, assuming Jose is there next season and Oliver Skipp will be back, I'd assume that all the fans would want to be seeing Oliver Skipp play after the season he's had so far. You know, Jack Clark's gone out on loan, wasn't a Mourinho signing, but that Dane Scarlett looking very promising. He was on the bench the other night, 16 years old, coming on and making his debut, whether or not it's for a minute or two. But I think that there are some very promising talents for Tottenham. A lot of them are out on loan now. Harvey White, another one that springs to mind. So I think it's more that we'll have to see next season whether or not Jose will be there or not, and whether or not he'll want to use them, because there seems to be talent. It's just whether or not he wants to utilise it. But I definitely have an eye on Oliver Skipp. I'm really, really interested to see how he'll be coming back after we saw him play, you know, under Pochettino and the times last season as well. I really want to see him come back and see how he'll fit into that midfield, because we desperately need some type of attacking midfielder, someone who can link up play. Because at the minute, Harry Kane is the only one doing that, and he's trying to do like 3 jobs at once. And you know, he's too good. He's too good for this team at the minute.
What did Tottenham do about Reguilon if he does what it looks like go back to Madrid next season? What do they do there? Because he's been one of your standout players this season, so it'd be a big loss on that left back position. I
don't think he particularly wants to go. As far as I'm aware, I think he's quite happy here and he likes London. I don't think he wants to necessarily go. Yes. And it will come down to the player. Fundamentally, regardless of that clause being triggered. Again, Tottenham need a whole new defence. You know, if he stays, then that's one position they don't have to fill. Hopefully he'll still be there. But you know, you look at Ben Davis, fine as an understudy, not as a first choice. Matt Doherty's come in, done absolutely nothing. He's made Aurier look really, really good. Sanchez, which takes a fee. Sanchez, not good enough for me. Toby's getting on. No one's taking anything away from how good Toby is. A Rolls Royce of a defender, but he is getting older. He is 30. He's going to be 33. You can't keep banking your hopes on that. We saw what happened with Vertonghen. Once your legs go, they go. And it happens very, very quickly, very suddenly. And Eric Dyer, for me, is not the answer. You know, Tottenham need a back four, a whole new back four. You know, they also arguably potentially need a new keeper in Lloris. And they also need someone to replace Christian Eriksen, which they never did. And we've missed out not having that.
Do you trust Jose to do that rebuild though? That's the thing.
it's not that I don't trust Jose to do it. I don't trust the board to give Jose the money to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that Daniel Levy is very, very involved in transfers. So if you hear otherwise, don't believe that for a second. He's very, very involved in who stays and who goes at that club, which is why Dele Alli didn't leave, because all parties were on board with him going to PSG. And Daniel Levy said outright he's not going. I don't want him to go. Same with Toby a few years ago. You'll remember when Toby looked like he was heading for the door under Pochettino. He wasn't getting game time. Daniel Levy said, you're not going anywhere. It's just a case of money, you know. And obviously we had a good summer in the sense that we brought in Gareth Bale. On paper, everything looked very, very good. And some of those signings are good. Roden, I think, is a good signing. I think Reguilon's a good signing. But it needs more. And it all stems back to those 2 seasons where we did nothing in the transfer market. And everyone thought, wow, amazing. Tottenham still finishing top 4, Champions League final with hardly any expenditure, you know, going 2 windows without a signing. And Pochettino said it just before. He said, you know, you can have a beautiful home, but if your furniture inside is shit, then you're not going to do very. You're not going to do very well. And it's so true. And it was true back then. And I remember thinking that summer after the Champions League final, how big of a rebuild we needed. And at that point, I think it was only 3 or 4 players. And now for me, it's 5+. You know, what we need. And it's also about hanging on to Harry Kane, hanging on to Heung-min Son as well. So it's going to be a very, very big summer for Tottenham. And I think the only thing that might save them is the fact that we're still in a pandemic. I still foresee that the effects of COVID are still going to be there come summer and even into next season as well. But Tottenham need to be backed. And if Daniel Levy doesn't back them, then everything they've done off the pitch, you know, balancing the books, building the stadium, the training ground, is for nothing, because you have to match your ambition on the pitch, not just off it. Otherwise, how are you going to achieve anything to take that club to where it needs to be? How are you going to sell a club with a big pound deficit, a bit of debt, to someone when you're finishing top 10 and you've won a Carabao Cup?
Yeah, that's a great point. Andy, you've seen Man City already start their rebuild. Something that Abbi said that Tottenham didn't do previously, but you've seen Man City do that from this summer already. They've got in Ferran Torres to replace whether it's Sane or Silva. They've got Phil Foden coming through. There's a lot of talk about the next person to take over from Sergio Aguero. What do they need? Obviously, they're looking at a forward. What else do they need at Man City to sort of complete that squad?
Yeah, well, that's it, really. I think that's the main one. Absolutely, Sergio Aguero, who his long-term replacement is going to be. Gabriel Jesus is a good player, but I think we've seen enough of him now to know he's not really in the same league as Aguero. Presumably, he'll stay.
Stats are great, though. Stats for someone who gets so sort of, and I feel bad when I say it as well. But his stats are really good. It's like 1 in every 2 his goal ratio on paper, isn't it, or something like that? And he's good at build-up play. He has that Brazilian flair. He's just not Sergio Aguero, which is big shoes to fill. We're talking about one of the best all-time. Yeah, we're talking about all-time greatest Premier League strikers that we're trying to compare Jesus to.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard job. I mean, Haaland is one player who's been mentioned consistently.
No.
I don't know. Then it was a reliable regular goal scorer.
So who would you have? There's talk of it's Haaland, Kane, and Lukaku are the 3 names that are sort of getting bandied about. Who in what order would you have them in? How would you love that choice? I'd love that choice.
One more in the mix there. What you mentioning? Lautaro Martinez, is it?
Oh yeah, Martinez. Yeah. Go on. I would add another one. Go on.
Right. I'd take Harry Kane really if he was available.
I'm sure he would.
Way to end the podcast.
Yeah, I think absolutely brilliant player. Yeah, as Abbi said, too good for Tottenham. I think he'd be a perfect fit for City. I really do. And maybe they probably need one other striker as well. I think this season, just having the 2 of them has probably not been enough, because we've seen Aguero been injured, and then Jesus has had his form and fitness issues as well. So really, they could do it as well as they've done, playing with a false 9 or playing with Ferran Torres as a centre forward. Another option would be good. Other than that, you know,
No need.
there's not really an awful
You're
lot
solid.
really.
I've not been there in years.
Imagine that feeling of having like such a good squad. You're like, you know, we can just go and spend like 200 million on just 200 million on a striker, and we'll be a bit better. But like, we can't really get better than we are. Like,
Players Foden has come through the system, but they have lost players as well. They're probably about to lose Eric Garcia. They've already lost Jadon Sancho, and they lost Brahim Diaz. So these brilliant players that are coming through the system can't get into the team. So you know, they're certainly well stocked in many departments.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And Man City, I mean, Jerome done something a few weeks ago on Man City's youth, and the level of the players coming through there. And again, there's more players that haven't been able to make it through, like the Jaden Braff, who's exceptional talent, and people will know about him in a couple of years' time because he's that good if he keeps his head straight. But yeah, he's a top player.
Sorry, what do you think will happen with Kane, Abbi? Do you think he'll actually go, or do you think he'll stay?
I think he's too good for Tottenham. Genuinely, my opinion. I think he deserves to win trophies. I obviously don't want to see Harry Kane go before I get anyone say to me, "You want Kane out the door." It would break my heart the way it did when Bale left, but even more so because you know how much Harry Kane loves the club. However, I think there's going to be an issue when it comes to the price that Daniel Levy wants. Now, I don't think Daniel Levy will let him go for anything less than 200 million. Genuinely, I don't. I think
his career at Tottenham.
I think between 100. You know what Daniel Levy's like. Yeah. Right? So bear in mind, he wouldn't even let Gazzaniga. He wouldn't let Gazzaniga go to Liverpool, right? Gazzaniga. So you're telling me you think that he'd let Harry Kane, who was priceless to Tottenham, go to Manchester City for anything less than 150 up, right?
Yeah.
For me, it would be a very tough negotiation for him to price that away. I think, and anyway, selling to someone in the Premier League, you're going to be paying in excess of what he'd want you to pay anyway. Other than that, you'd think maybe Madrid, Barca, but they haven't got the money. We all know the financial situation they're in. PSG potentially, but they want Messi. I don't think United's the option. I think going out of the two, I think he'd go to City. I'd be happier with him at City personally.
Really?
Yeah, I just would. I'd be happier than at United. But again, it is the history, and like City don't particularly bother me, because I'm just jealous of you. So I'm jealous. I'm jealous that someone has come and bought you and given you a blank check, and you've had everything you've ever dreamed of. And I hope it happens to us. But I think that whether or not Harry's there, I don't know. I think the only reason he may still be there is because of COVID and about how much Daniel Levy wants for him. If you think every window, there's not that much talk about Kane going anywhere, and I think that's purely probably because of the price. I think that's purely because of the price that Daniel Levy would have set on his head. And when he's priced this to a team, you can really say, I want whatever, this is what I want. It can be an extortionate amount of money. You just have to wait for someone to come and offer it to you.
Yeah, we spoke about that a few weeks back. Yeah, we spoke about it a few weeks back about Kane, and maybe he's missed the boat with regards to that, making that transfer, signing that contract, because what his value is as a player may be way past what Daniel Levy is going to be willing to take for him. So I think that's gone. So it may have to be one of the other three, as Steve said. But it's not bad choices out of Haaland, Martinez, and Lukaku. As we've seen.
I love Lukaku.
Yeah.
Nathan wants Haaland. He's like, don't you even mention him.
Exactly.
I want him in my club.
Abbi, what would be your minimum requirement this season to be happy as a Tottenham fan?
Be able to defend for a start. No, well, look, at the start of the season, I probably would have said, try and finish top four and a trophy. That would have been my happy. I would have been very happy with that. I think that Tottenham have to win a trophy this season. It's a very big debate whether or not you're happy to finish top four and have no trophy, or win a Carabao Cup and finish 8th, 9th, 10th, because that's always the debate nowadays. It's whether or not you're happy to win a trophy, or do you consider top four a trophy?
Yeah.
Financially for the club, another season out of Champions League is very damaging. look, top 4 and a trophy I'd be happy with, but I think top 4 is there's not much in it when you look at the table. It is still very tight, despite how disappointing Tottenham have been. I think that's why people are so disappointed, because of how Tottenham were looking and how quickly they've fallen. It's not out of the realms to finish top 4. I think it'll be difficult. But yeah, top 4 and a trophy would suit me fine.
All right. And Andy, what you're looking to progress more in the Champions League? Maybe get over that line, get to a final, and maybe lift that trophy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely. This league form now, the way they're playing in the Premier League, they're building up a bit of a cushion. That should give them the space really to have a really good go at the Champions League. They won't have to prioritise one or the other, because they'll feel they've got a good enough lead. So yeah, that will obviously become the priority. I think. After that, then I think probably after that the Carabao could be 3 on the list really, because they're already in the final and they can get that one done relatively straightforward. They've got to play Tottenham, and then the FA Cup after that. I don't think they're going to go win all 4. I think it'd certainly take 2 of them, maybe 3.
With everyone else, even in Europe, having such an on-off season, the likes of Juventus is very inconsistent this season. Even Bayern Munich didn't had just come off a bad run. Do you think this is maybe, and especially Liverpool as well, do you think this is maybe Man City's best chance to lift that Champions League trophy?
Could be, yeah. I mean, we did think that last season when they played the mini tournament in Portugal. That was a big opportunity. Losing to Lyon, I think, really. Yeah. They weren't. They weren't at the best. I think even Real Madrid the week before, I think that the hopes were so high, and then to go out in that fashion was really, really frustrating. I think that was an opportunity missed. Although, having said that, Bayern Munich did look pretty good. That's finally against Barcelona, whether they'd pass them or not. It is doubtful, but yeah, absolutely. This is a great opportunity. They've got a reasonably good draw in the last 16 with Borussia, which is bad, but they should be confident in getting through that. So yeah, I think this is a really good opportunity. And certainly the way they're playing and the form they're building, that does look like it should be a good chance.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Andy. Thank you very much, Abbi. Thank you very much, Nathan. Top quality show tonight. Love to have you two on again, and obviously you, Nathan. I mean, you're one of us. I felt like I've singled you out there. Obviously you, Nathan. Abbi, thank you for coming on again.
Pleasure.
As always. And Andy, thank you for coming on. Quality tonight, mate. Thank you very much. And Nathan, we'll see you next week, mate.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very
much.
Nice to meet you.
All right. See you guys. See you
nice to meet you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye. All right. 3 quality guests there. Manchester City talk, Man United talk, youth talk, everything. We even had a little bit of Jerome jumping in, giving his 2 pence worth on Ahmed the Yellow. Might have to introduce that every week. All right. There was actually another player you was going to speak about. I forgot to tell you. I'll ask you about that, but we can get to that when we get up to the transfer roundup.
No problems.
All right, it's time for the Guardian Top 60. What you got for us this week, Jerome?
Right, a couple of players for the top 60. So we've got a guy called Luis Puente. He actually turned 18 yesterday, a centre forward from the Mexican League. Now, the team that he plays for called Guadalajara, and he was spotted in a regional tournament back in 2014 when he was very young. And when the scouts spotted him, they said to his dad, like, he doesn't need to come to a trial. Like, we're going to sign him. He was sort of that good. Yeah, 2-footed, very powerful, technical. He's got an unbelievable sort of goal scoring record for them. Pretty much a goal a game. He's the leading scorer in the under 20s league there. So that's Luis Puente. The next player is one that plays for Bayern Munich. He plays for Bayern Munich sort of second string team. Mm-hmm. He's called Tobin Wright, an 18-year-old, and he's progressed through the youth ranks there. Sort of a classic number 10, the way he plays. Captain German youth teams at all different age groups. What's interesting about him is a bit like Santi Cazorla. He takes set pieces with both feet. Sort of, you can't tell the difference whether he's right-footed or left-footed.
For that.
One of those, yeah. And in 2020, there's always an award that they give to sort of Germany's most promising talents, and he came second in that. So they obviously think highly of him in Germany. Yeah, Tobin Wright.
Tobin Wright.
The next one, yeah.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for them lot. Thank you very much for that, Jerome.
Right.
All right, it's time for the transfer roundup. Yes, there still is a transfer roundup because we come to realise that this is a 24/7, 365 day a year industry. Transfers are never off. Even when the transfer window closes, they're talking about the next transfers they're looking at in the summer. So it's non-stop. All right, let's go. Isco's made his decision to run down his contract to Madrid. It looks like Seville are the team that are front runners of where he wants to go, potentially. Roman midfielder Henrik Mkhitaryan is subject to interest from Juventus after having an excellent season so far with Roma. Inter Milan forwards Romelu Lukaku and Southampton forward Danny Ings are among the players on the list of summer transfer targets for Manchester City. That was with the Athletic. I'd be interested in if, Danny Ings, I could probably see being a Gabriel Jesus replacement with whether it's Lukaku or Martinez or Haaland being as the main one. I mean, that would be a serious strike force, them two, wouldn't it? Or one of them two.
Yeah.
Danny Ings is I really rate Danny Ings.
Yeah.
You know.
Go on, mate.
Oh, sorry. With Danny Ings, though, I think he's probably the type of centre forward now that he's got to play, and he can't be sitting on the bench for someone.
True. Where does he go does he need to leave Southampton and go to a club where he's going to be playing? Playing weekends still, but at a bigger club. Is Southampton the place for him where he's? What I kind of see with Danny Ings and Southampton is like he's not that he's feeding off scraps, but he's getting one or two chances in a game, and he's making a lot of it himself if he is. Southampton have been very good this season, but they're coming up against a lot of teams that are better than them. I mean, if you look in the table, Southampton are probably at the top of their league, and then above that you've got Wolves, Arsenal. I mean, Leeds are in there. You've got Liverpool, and it's all the big names. So Southampton are probably doing well at the level they're at. But is Danny Ings better than that? Is that just Danny Ings be playing at a higher level? Maybe possibly in a team in Europe, and Everton maybe. But then they've got Calvert-Lewin, so it's a tough one. It is a tough one. Nigerian winger Shola Sorete has signed his first professional contract with Manchester United. Jerome, you had a little look at him, didn't you? What's he saying?
Yeah, quality. He actually played. So Arsenal under 23s played United under 23s last week, and he played in that game. He's only 17, already sort of a regular for the under 23s. So what else can I tell you about him? He sort of plays, although he's a winger, he can play basically anywhere in an attacking position. And there's a competition called the UEFA Youth League, which is normally sort of an under-18 competition. And he became the youngest player in it. He played in it when he was 14 years old. Yeah, he's been compared to sort of JJ Okocha, the way he plays. And the coach at United under 23 said that he's been one of their, not just one of their most consistent players, but one of their most consistent, outstanding players this season. Loads of skills, great dribbling, low centre of gravity. Yeah, playing above himself.
Serious talent. Then.
Yeah.
So it's not just about Diallo. This kid's waiting in the wings as well.
That's it. I think the couple of games that Diallo's played, like them two have sort of linked up quite well together. Yeah, like really dangerous players together. Yeah.
And there was another player, Man United got in from Man City, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So that's a guy called Charlie McNeil. So this is a good one. He's a 17-year-old striker. Now, what I didn't know is he's actually a Man United fan, right? And he was playing for United, one of the youth teams there, and joined Man City. And he was very successful at Man City. Scored over 600 goals in the youth team there. But then joined United again they then joined United again in the summer. And I think it was yesterday, there was the derby between United and City. So he was playing against his former club where he scored all them goals. He ended up scoring 4 goals and kissed the badge. Yeah.
Already making a name for himself there. Love that.
Yeah, but that's got to be one of the best goal scoring records ever. 600 goals.
That is ridiculous.
Maybe about 8, maybe 7, 8 seasons, something like that. Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Good player then, yeah?
Yeah, just a prolific goal scorer, yeah.
All right. We'll keep an eye out for them too. Fulham were seeking compensation for Liverpool for midfielder Harvey Elliott, and they wanted 10 million, and we got 1.5 million in the end, wasn't it? Scott Parker's absolutely fuming, as you would, and I think is this something they need to seriously have a look at, because they put these compensations in so that clubs, while the players are not under professional contracts, bigger clubs can't poach these younger players. But when you're going to put something like a £1.5 million compensation fee, it's kind of pitiful for the amount that, if we want to talk on a financial level, how much Fulham have put in to nurture Harvey Elliott all the way through from youth ranks to professional football. So they need to do something on that, Steve, do you reckon?
I mean, Scotty Parker's someone for the youngsters anyway. And what I don't think people realise, or they may well realise, is that what Fulham do with their youngsters is, when they get something like this, when they get the compensation, when they move on a player, or exactly what's happened to Harvey Elliott, there is some money that goes off to the player. So we've only getting 1.5. Obviously, the player's not going to get as much money as what he would have done if it was going to be for 10 million. But something has to be sorted out with young players. We spoke to Alan Moore on the Deadline Day show, and he was telling us how the young players were just getting fobbed off and not getting the money that they should, and going to places where they shouldn't. But there has to be something put into place. I don't know what it would be, but Scotty Parker's more annoyed with the fact that Harvey Elliott, a young kid, is not going to get the compensation that he should. Yeah,
the player getting the compensation. I mean, that's top draw for Scott Parker to be thinking of a player in that way. But let's say Man United get a player from Coventry, and this player is meant to be the next big thing, and they get Man United snatch him before he signed a professional contract, and they get 300k, and this player goes on to be a superstar. Is that not something that they need to look at to maybe, because this is going to impact smaller clubs, and it's lucky that Fulham are in the Premier League, so they get the money from the Premier League. But if they were in the Championship, League One or League Two, that youth player could have been the player that could step them up, and or if not, that youth player is going to sort of make sure that club's surviving for the next few seasons, especially in this current pandemic.
So what I don't know from this is, where's the shock? What did Scott Parker not know? Was this kept from Scotty Parker?
No. What it is, the compensation is reviewed through a panel of I think, I'm not sure. It must be FA or Premier League, whatever, but it's reviewed. So they will say, this player's worth this much. This is the compensation that the club will be receiving. It's never usually big money either, because it's a compensation. It's so that you don't get nothing, and that seems to be where the problem is. These things were meant to be set up to protect the clubs from losing these youth players, but the bigger clubs don't care about 1 point. No. Essentially, you're bringing in Harvey Elliott isn't a first-team player yet, but in 2 seasons' time, he could be a first-team player. That first-team player, who Harvey Elliott's regarded as a top youth prospect, that first-team player has cost you 1.5 million. That's absolutely nothing to Liverpool. What? Jerome, it's something they've got to look at, surely.
Yes, it's so tricky, isn't it? It's so tricky, mate. I don't know if in this particular case there's like a sell-on clause, perhaps. So if Harvey Elliott does go on and leaves Liverpool, then Fulham at least get a chunky percentage of that transfer fee. But that's the what do you call it? Like the free market, isn't it? It's it's really tough. But you feel sorry because it doesn't seem fair to the club that's losing that player. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem fair.
But on this occasion, it's affecting the player as well.
All right,
That's where I think that's why it's in the newspapers. That's why the big stories come out. This is happening all the time. This is happening but whenever a young player or one of these type of compensation deals goes ahead, this is happening all the time, day to day. This specific one, why you're seeing it in the newspapers is because this was something that was to go to the player.
When Harvey Elliott left, what was he, 16 when he left Fulham? For Liverpool? So it's so hard. How do you value a 15, 16-year-old? It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. It's a tough one to do, but I think something
can be done. Basically,
something can be done. Like I think
to be fair,
a little bit more.
What Jerome said, what's 1.5 million?
It's nothing. It's nothing.
1.5 million to Liverpool. You would have thought they would just give him the 1.5 million, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and okay. As you said, this happens all the time, and there's players out there that these compensation deals, they've probably been valued right. But there's probably going to be a hell of a lot of players that aren't going to get that right valuation if clubs going to snip in there before they're signing their professional contract. Liverpool considering a move for Sporting Lisbon. Sporting Lisbon's Pedro Goncalves. Jerome, what's he saying?
So this is a 22-year-old central midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
He's been dubbed so very similar to sort of Bruno Fernandes. So he only joined them last summer. He was actually on the books of Wolves a few seasons ago. Then he joined another team in Portugal, and then he moved to Sporting Lisbon. This season he's on fire. He's played in his 15 league games. He scored 14 goals. Hits the ball very sort of clean and crisp, very precise with his finishing and his passing as well. He's one of those players that uses more sort of skill and quick feet rather than pace to beat players in central midfield.
Good player.
Nice player.
All right. Arsenal want to sign a young left back in the summer as backup to Kieran Tierney, which kind of knocks the Ryan Bertrand and I would have thought Van Aanholt off on the head. So yeah.
Do you think that they should be? I keep hearing about backup, and I keep hearing about a young player to learn, Kieran Tierney. Am I the only one who thinks that we should be looking for someone probably on the same lines as Kieran Tierney?
I think we've had this discussion before.
You know why I'm saying that, don't you?
I'm of the thinking myself that I would have someone in there that's probably more experienced and knows where he's at in his career and is good competition for Kieran Tierney. Could quite easily take his spot, as in if Kieran Tierney was out. The youngster, I don't have a problem with Arsenal bringing in a youngster as long as he's good enough. But myself, I was looking at someone like a Ryan Bertrand, 30 years of age, it's good experience, could quite easily be in that spot if Kieran Tierney was out injured, and then Kieran Tierney would have to get his place back.
That's what you want.
That's what I would have gone for. I can see reasons why people wouldn't want that. I think your reasoning previously, Jerome, was with regards to maybe there's no sort of not enthusiasm, but there's no same argument. He knows where he's at. He knows he's coming towards the end of the career. Is that really what you want in there? For me, that just depends on the player's mentality. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. As long as the player's good enough, that's all I want. I don't want I want a player that's going to be good enough to sit in that spot. Because as we know, Kieran Keane he runs through walls, and when you've got a player like that runs through walls, like Jack Wilshere, like these players, they get injured and they're out for a while. So
David Alaba's available on a free transfer, isn't he?
Oh yeah. I tell you what, get on the phone, have a word. Pini Zazzini. Yeah. I think I spoke to him previously. I think he's in my contact book.
Oh no, that's Jordi Alaba, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we did before.
Yeah, Joe, I'm like, I was talking to Jordi Alaba's agent, thinking it was David Alaba's agent.
Yeah, because I got Steve's like, Steve, I've been told David Alaba could be playing in the Premier League. Yeah, I've been told. Yeah, serious talks are happening, but I'm not being told what club. Yeah, have a word with the geezer from Man City. You know he is. Yeah. Steve goes to bed, goes, Kears, they've just had a word. Yeah, it's on. I'm like, shut up. He goes, yeah, Jordi Alaba, he's not wanted by Barcelona. I'm like, Steve, I said David Alaba. He goes, forget about David Alaba. I'm on the phone to Jordi Alaba's agent.
But, I tell you what, now you made you laugh. I tell you why. Look, if you look at the top sides above us, they've all got two left backs or two right backs that are fighting for each other, and either one could go in and you wouldn't blink an eye, whoever it was. Mm-hmm. You know. Mm-hmm.
Look,
so if a Tierney never got injured, then I wouldn't be saying it.
Yeah, it is a tough one. Look. If you look at the likes of what Man City do, they're getting players like that are probably they don't care. They're getting players that are similar age, and it's just fight. Do you know what I mean? It's just fight for it. Cancelo and Kyle Walker are a little bit of a different age, but they bought the other guy when they bought Kyle Walker as well, who could play left back and right back, who's not there anymore. But they've got Cancelo and Kyle Walker just fighting it out. I mean, how's Cancelo?
Yeah, he's young.
That's a bit more like the Ryan Bertrand and the Kieran Tierney thing.
Yeah.
The easiest one to sort of like, to go with is the Telles and Shaw. You've got them two on that left.
Yeah.
And as soon as Telles come in, Shaw's a different player,
exactly,
right?
And that's the thing. And the thing is, if you think about it, Kieran Tierney doesn't really need that push because he's a run through brick walls kind of player.
Yeah.
But certain players do need that, and certain players will look and see a young 17-year-old and think, he ain't taking my spot. This is my spot. All right, I'll train you, mate. But there's no real push. Has Shaw previously at Man United seen the players behind him, seen the youth behind him, and knows that they're not a threat. He knows that his position in the team's not a threat. I don't think
goalkeepers have that attitude, don't they?
Goalkeepers need to be pushed. But goalkeepers is a very fine line. They're so fragile. Honestly, we are fragile creatures, mate. We need to be pushed to a certain extent, but we need to know that our position is ours. Like we need to know that if we've had one bad week, that's not us over. Because you can't live on that knife edge with a keeper. He needs that security, but he needs to be pushed. And he needs to have a decent player behind him. So goalkeepers is a very tough one, and it's probably the toughest one to have a top first and a top second goalkeeper. Yeah. Because you're not it's you have a number one. It's written on the back of your shirt. It's not like an outfield player where number one's number one, and you know you're number one. So if you get the 26, you know you're a second goalkeeper. So it's like it's a mental thing.
But that's like the best. I mean, again, we're going back to Man City again. You got Zach Steffen says, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. I'm having a."
And he's a very good goalkeeper. He's a very good goalkeeper.
Like, what? That's what you want.
That's what you want, and he's come through. He's come through the ranks as well, which is very hard. But what you do get with those people that come through the ranks, you get that they're part of the family. You get that it's a different mentality. And I'm sure Ederson gets pushed by Steffen every day in training as well, because as you've seen in every game that Steffen's played, he looks like a top goalkeeper. He looks like the real deal, and he looks so assured already. I don't know how we've managed to get to Man United and Man City in the subject of starting off with Kieran, but it's one to be looked at, and it maybe adds a bit more fuel to the fire with the Josh Diog transfer rumor with Hibernian.
Cedric ain't doing bad, is he? Cedric ain't doing.
No, he's not doing bad. But when the end of the season comes, is Ainsley Maitland-Niles going to still be at Arsenal? I personally don't see it. I think that could potentially be his exit door, his shop window loan, the West Brom one, and I could see Cedric coming in to be again competition at right back. After
that pass, Maitland-Niles did.
I had to go at Maitland-Niles like he was still at Arsenal today with that pass. I was like, Maitland, what the hell was that?
Which one was that?
Did you see that?
He's through 2-on-1, and Maguire's come towards him, and he's tried to hit it on the outside of his right boot, and it was just like it was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah.
So bad because they would have scored. They would have been a chance to score.
Right, look down. I'm just going to pass it across the score.
Yeah, it was a terrible pass.
It was bad. Have a look after Drone. It's bad.
Yeah. Wolves fullback Johnny has signed an extension until 2025. Bayern Munich chief executive Karl-Heinz Rummenigge has revealed that it would be an honour to sign Mohamed Salah. Steve, you've got a little bit of transfer news, Harry Kane, and a couple of other little bits, haven't you?
Yeah, I've spoke to the Man United guy always before I come on. Man United have been in talks with Tyrone Mings.
I did see Mings the other day.
It's only fleeting talks, but they've been talking, and they've also been having talks with Pedro Neto as well.
Okay, that's interesting. Is this a potential alternative to Jack Grealish?
Hey?
Is this a potential alternative to Jack Grealish?
I think Pedro Neto, does he play in that position? Does he?
On the left, isn't he, Neto?
He's on the left.
Wide left.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you what, it'd be a cheaper version. It'd be a shout, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Pedro Neto can play on the left or the right. I think he scored his goal from the right today, which was a drop of the shoulder and then tucked it past the goalkeeper at a tight angle.
Apparently, Tyrone Mings is at not United a lot because he goes there and watches them. So the man I talk to knows that because he sees him there, and
so he's a fan.
So that Mings one is really one to circle and tick and keep your eye on.
Do you think he's ready for Man United, or do you think he'll be exposed?
No, I don't think he's ready for United.
No, neither do I. I think he'll be massively exposed. I think he'll have. I think he's. I don't think he's better than Chris Smalling, and I think that. I watched him against Aston Villa, and he's getting better. He's getting better season upon season. He loses his head less, but he's still not quite there. And when you go to Man United, you don't have room for error. If you make these little errors that you make at Aston Villa, you'll be crucified, and you'll be within a season. You'll be marked off as rubbish.
I know it's totally different eras, and it's a stupid thing to say, but because it would never happen. But could you imagine Fergie signing Tyrone Mings?
No.
So
3 times.
Yeah. No. Each time I try to think about it, I think to myself,
do you know what I mean? Like when Fergie signed a player, you knew that they were going 9 times out of 10, they were like guaranteed successes basically at United.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think who Fergie would sign. So if he was going to sign a centre back from the Premier League, who would Ferguson sign?
It'd be like one of the top that you can't dispute.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't have this conversation. Is he ready? It would be It would be okay. The Man United being business because they're buying the best defender out of the top 2 teams in the Premier. Like they wouldn't be buying a defender from Man City. They wouldn't be buying a defender from Liverpool. But what that Man United would be doing is to be buying a defender who's the best defender from any other team in the Premier League. Yeah, and I can't even think who that is. And if they couldn't find him in the Premier League, they'd go to the depths of Chechnya to find him, knowing full well that he's going to be a superstar. Because Man United had that scouting as well.
Is it mad to say that they could have, if they did buy Mings, that they would have the whole back 4 as the England back 4?
Yeah, they could do, couldn't they?
I'm trying to think who sits in there. I mean, I think that every single club in the Premier League has missed the opportunity of signing what would be one of the best defenders in the league, in John Stones, probably last season. Because I think everyone had an opportunity.
Arsenal could have had him last year.
I think everyone had an opportunity to sign John Stones, and not that fans have a say in these things, but a lot of fans were like no to John Stones at any club that was interested in him. And I think when you look at it, what he's done with his career in football is he's simplified it. He could already do all the good stuff. He could already do the fancy stuff and the playing out. Like he was a midfielder in a centre back, but we wanted to see a centre back in at centre back. And John Stones is now a centre back who can do everything else because we know he can do that. But now everyone can see that he can be a top defender. And I think if he carries that on, I think England have got a serious defender as well. Yeah.
He rarely gets it wrong, Guardiola, does he?
He rarely gets it wrong, and he seems to be. His timing's excellent. His timing is excellent. Everyone will be questioning, Phil Foden's not getting enough game time. Summers no got the gift time, and then you see the player play. You see how good they are when they play, and you think to yourself, would they have been that good if we would have watched them week in, week out, learning their trade that way, like playing as much as what everyone else was saying they should play?
Do you know what? It's not often you look at a manager, you look at Fergie and you praise him and you talk about him, but I think I've never been like a higher step in the ladder is what I'm thinking about as Pep Guardiola at the moment as far as being a manager is concerned. I just think he's the best.
Yeah, he's mustard.
I just think he's the best.
Sorry,
I think he's a genius.
Going back.
He's a genius. I think he's a genius. Things that we've come on here and gone, what's he doing? And he's just like, you see.
I think Ferguson would have bought a Sionchu or a Tarkovsky. One of them two. Because Tarkovsky maybe needs a little bit more time to learn, but seems like he's ready for the next move. But Sionchu seems like he's already playing at that level now in a top 4 team, consistently in and around it, and he's being a beast. So maybe Man United would go out and buy a Sionchu and not a Tyrone Mings. Because they would go for what's the best out of teams that are just not going to sell him. And he's, over the last 2 seasons, he's been one of the best defenders in the league. So, that's who I think Man United would buy. I'm surprised no one's really pushing for Sionchu.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
But just carry a couple of other things. Crystal Palace are looking for a new manager. He won't be the new manager, Roy Hodgson, at the end of going into next season, which is not really surprising, to be quite honest with you. But he's
done well. I think he's been very harshly sort of spoken about by a lot of people because he's stabilised the club, and if you think of Crystal Palace's budget, he's done a very good job. One manager who actually said I wouldn't be surprised if you end up seeing him there when he got sacked recently was Frank Lampard. I even checked the odds, was something like a 7-1 or something like that, and I could just see him going to a club where he's got lower expectations, a good youth development behind him, a manager, a chairman in Steve Parish, who, if he gets the man he likes, and Lampard seems like a Steve Parish kind of guy, he would give him the world. He would give him extra, a bit like what he did when he got De Boer in, because it was his man. He wanted to give him extra, he wanted to give him time, he wanted to give him money, but it just didn't work. But I think someone like Lampard, it wouldn't be beneath him to go to a club like Crystal Palace. And I think where there's no big egos, I don't. As soon as he left Tottenham, Chelsea, I thought he could be Palace manager, and then maybe after that England manager, because England they've got his jacket ready. They have, because they just do that kind of thing.
Lampard's on about.
Yeah, but I would. Go on.
As I'd like to see Lampard as England manager with Harry Redknapp as his assistant.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Go on, Frank. Bring him on. Go on, Frank.
That'd be brilliant.
Got Andrei Shevchenko in the background. Bring him in.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest bit of news I've been told this week, which I could have brought out on the with Nathan and Andy and Abbi while they was here, but I was like wanting to come out of it. I thought, shall I save it for later? And decided to save it for later. Man City want Haaland.
Okay.
Man United want Kane. Man United have spoken to Kane. If the contract that Kane had, there's something written in it that says that he can leave for a certain amount of money, which makes sense.
He had to. That had to have been in there. That had to have been in there. Do you know shit?
5-year contract.
100%. I'm so glad. That's been said.
Said by someone who tells you stuff who gets it right, and then they tell you it, you think, and then all of a sudden you think, of course, yeah, but it had to be, didn't it? It just had to be.
Yeah.
It goes on from that.
Because why, as Harry Kane, and this is the same Harry Kane who, I think it might have been in this summer or the previous summer, had that big interview where he said, yes, of course I think about winning titles, of course I win and it was setting out that if Tottenham don't live up to his ambitions, he will look to leave. Now, if you're going to leave that down to Daniel Levy and an open range of a transfer valuation that Levy was had, as Abbi alluded to earlier, then he's never going to leave. Because Levy would not let him leave. The fact that he's got something written in his contract, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah. The only what's going to happen is that Daniel Levy obviously don't want him to go. So his idea is that at the end of the summer, Josie will go, and they are going to bring in Brendan Rodgers, or they're going to try and bring in Brendan Rodgers at Tottenham, which again makes sense. Which makes sense to me. I can just see him there, and he's gone to, what did he say? He's gone to try and convince Harry Kane to stay.
So, has Tottenham already approached Brendan Rodgers?
they want to get. He won't.
Or is that just what they want?
They want to get Brendan Rodgers.
They want Brendan Rodgers. All right, cool.
I don't. I'll have to ask. I'll go through the conversation again, and I'll.
Yeah,
ask.
no. That's. I mean, that would be a great signing for Tottenham. And excellent. I think Brendan Rodgers is an excellent manager. It's one of them situations again, isn't it? I think Arsenal were in the same situation a couple of seasons ago when they wanted Brendan Rodgers, and he's at Leicester in a good place, but this is a bigger club as well. There's going to be more money involved. It'll be more of a pull for certain players to go there. I mean, yeah.
Where would he go? Where would he go if you take away Leicester? Spurs.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot. Again, I keep laughing to myself because I can just see him there. Where else would he go after Leicester?
Where could Brendan Rodgers go?
No disrespect to Leicester, they do fantastic. But they're Leicester. You know,
if Thomas Tuchel wasn't at Chelsea, I could see Brendan Rodgers go to Chelsea. I think Brendan Rodgers could manage at any club. He's had the experience of he's had a wide range of experience now, and I think his only move now is to a top club. Going to someone that's any less than Leicester would be a backwards move because of the position he's got them into, the position they're in consistently. They're seen as a team that's in Europe and now pushing for top four.
What do you think, Brendan Rodgers, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, well, what he's done over the last... Yeah, definitely. He could do. What he's done over the last few seasons is he's really enhanced his reputation, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. His reputation is probably its highest point it's ever been. He's he could. I don't think you would name him against the Premier League club and go, "Oh no, he couldn't manage them." Like he could probably manage everyone. If Pep left City and they brought Brendan Rodgers, and you wouldn't be like massively shocked. Obviously, there's bigger names out there, but you wouldn't be like, "That's not a fit." Like he's done so well. Like his team's played good football. He's getting good results at Leicester. Like you can't knock him. You can't knock him. I know he's not like. I think when he was linked with Arsenal, I think a few Arsenal fans, but were a bit like, "Oh, I don't know about that." Like he wasn't a fashionable name, but he's proved what he can do. Like with his results.
Yeah,
I think I was one of those. I think Brendan Rodgers. I was like, "Oh, no, not."
Yeah, he was one of my.
I was a bit like that. But I have to hold my hands up. I have to change. I have to say I'm wrong, and I've got to agree with Jerome. I think he could walk in anywhere.
Yeah,
in the Premiership.
He was one of my options as manager. Just because he's a modern day manager. He's got that good blend, discipline. He's very good at everything. When he talks on camera, he's very good. The way his teams play, the players he brings through, the players he buys, everything he does, it seems to be good. I mean, he done well at Liverpool. Liverpool, when Brendan Rodgers took over Liverpool, let's not get it twisted, were a team very much in the wilderness, very much in the mould of in and out of Europa League, not really a threat in the Premier League, not really a threat to anyone. And he turned them into a serious team. And if you look at some of the players that have gone on from that team, and they're world class. Suarez, Sterling, they're top players. So yeah, I think
I'll say by about Wednesday this will come out.
All right, so you'll see it on the page later tonight. Yeah, good. Nice work there, Steve.
Quickly, what he's saying that just brought from players like Harvey Barnes and he got in Wesley Fofana, didn't he? He pulled that one off.
Yes,
he got in
the young Belgium.
He's
the young Belgium from Anderlecht, who went somewhere, didn't have a good move. No. Begins with V.
V.
Who's this?
What's his name?
What, the centre midfielder?
Yeah.
Tillmans.
Tillman, sorry.
Yeah.
Tillman. Where did I get V from? Is that his first name?
I think is it Yuri? Yuri.
Oh, it's
Tillmans?
Yuri. Well off. It's Yuri Tillmans.
Why is close to V?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
Let's
Let's just try to get us said any of that. It's Tillemans.
When someone tells you, you're like, yeah.
Way off.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, way off. Borussia Dortmund are considering selling at least 7 of their first team players. If you didn't see Marie's video on the Bundesliga update before the show, she goes more in depth about this story, which I'm going to be talking about. Really good. She's going to be doing a weekly piece before the show. I'm going to look to put it on about an hour before every show. Get you guys a little bit hyped up. Get you guys ready for the Transfer Exchange show, so you can have even more hours dedicated to us. All right. Thank you very much. So Borussia Dortmund are considering selling at least 7 of their first team players, including Jadon Sancho, Axel Witsel, Giovanni Reina, Jude Bellingham, and Erling Haaland. Jerome, you had a little look at.
I'll take them all. Ship them in.
You had a little look at Gio Reyna, son of former Manchester City and American international Claudio Reyna. Also, Gio Reyna is from the UK.
It is.
Right, that's it.
But he's not going to play for England. He's playing for America.
Nah, yeah, he's already been capped by the US national team.
Yeah.
Quality player, 18, attacking midfielder. He got voted US Soccer's Young Player of the Year for 2020. His what I like about him is he always seems sort of one step ahead. He knows what he's going to do with the ball before he receives it.
Mm-hmm.
His passing sort of is superb. That's, I guess, his sort of superpower is his passing. If I had to compare him to someone, I'd say he's a slightly more attacking version of like maybe Gundogan.
Okay.
Just because Gundogan's passing is just precise. It's quality. He's not like the most speediest, nippy player, but just technically very, very secure. Only joined them from New York City's academy in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Already played quite a few games for them. Quality player for 18. Top draw.
If you could pick, all right, this is. If you could pick one out of that lot, who are you having?
Did you say Haaland in that one?
Haaland's in that one. I want to take Haaland out now because that's not fair.
Yeah.
Everyone will pick Haaland. I'll take Haaland out.
What are they getting?
You know what?
There's Sancho. I'll leave Sancho in there. Giovanni Reina, Jude Bellingham. I'll out of them 3. Sancho, Bellingham, Reina.
Well, look, Sancho's the one that had.
Yeah.
Go on, Steve. What do you reckon, Steve? I mean, Sancho's the one that obviously I knows, isn't it? But
yeah. But is that what we need?
The one
do you feel that's what your club, Arsenal?
Sancho's
is that what you need? Do you need a right winger with Saka out there, or are you looking for a central midfielder? Because are you just going to bring in a right winger because it's Jadon Sancho, or are you going to bring in somewhere in a position you need?
Yeah, you're right. Mate.
Yeah. I mean,
mate, it's up to you. I'm just throwing in more options.
It's going by today's game, and then it could, which we may talk about later. I don't know. I'd have to go for Sancho.
All right. Jerome, who are you going for? No, one's forcing you.
Steve, that you don't have to pay the 100 million for him, so don't worry about it.
I was going to say.
No, as it happens, Giovanni Reina was my number one in my Guardian top 60 out of the 100. So I've got to go Giovanni Reina.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad option. Look. Odegaard isn't signing on a permanent deal, and you're getting in someone who's a permanent. Like no one's to say Odegaard's going to be staying at the end of the season, so maybe you're looking to the future.
They're very similar, them two, I think.
There we go. There we go. And yeah, who's to say Odegaard won't go back to Real Madrid? They're saying it's just a straight loan.
You
So
two ain't getting out of it.
Jerome.
I'll go with Rayner as well. I'll go with Steve. Steve knows what he's talking about. I'll go with him.
All right.
While we're on Odegaard, what can I ask? What you thought of how he played today, Odegaard?
I think he's still a bit raw, but like not raw as in player wise. I think like not up to scratch match fitness wise, which is why he came off at 60. But I thought he was very good. I thought he's got an excellent touch, very good vision. There was a couple of missed balls, but again, like I said, I think that's because he's just not with it, and he's not played with these players enough on a 11-a-side and on a full game to know where they're going to be positionally or where they should be for his passes. Just syncing up. But I thought he had a good game today.
Yeah, what do you reckon,
There
Steve?
was a particular
impressed.
There was a I was impressed. There was a particular pass that he did that no one read.
Yeah, exactly that. And I thought to myself, he's miles ahead. He's miles ahead. It's not he's got to catch up to you. You've got to catch up to him mentally. It's that fitness wise he has to catch up to you, but mentally you're not there.
Yeah,
he's in a different world there.
If he was one of them, you'd be like, what a
I saw that because it was such a beautifully weighted pass as well.
Which one was that?
I think if there was a winger overlapping from the fullback, it would have got in, or if a player would have made that run diagonally onto it. But he's a lot. Everyone seemed to be on the right hand side defence in motion, and he's seen this gap and he's put through a through ball, but there was no one there, and it was almost who the hell was that to? But then I thought to myself, that was still a lovely ball, like lovely weighted, and I just think as time goes by, everyone will be on the same wavelength. Then when I think it was when Saka had the first penalty, which got turned over. I think he played the ball to Saka quickly. Yeah,
that set Saka on his way. It was a bit like the one when Emil Smith-Rowe played it around the corner to Saka away to West Brom. Started that move for the goal.
Yeah. What I also liked as well is
quick feet, isn't he? His quick feet.
You
know, his feet, his brain and his feet. He's got
what I also liked was he likes to. He plays centrally, but he kind of looks like he's drifting to the left, which then drags so many players over, and he put it to Bellerin 3 times. If Bellerin again was on his wavelength and was expecting that ball more often, Bellerin needs to get his shooting boots on, because I think Bellerin can get 3 or 4 more goals this season with Odegaard in the team, because he drags them out. He drags the players out looking like he's going to go left, and then just drops a lovely weighted ball to Bellerin, and he done it 3 times today. Once Bellerin scored from, or nearly scored from, and then once Bellerin took a touch but sort of stumbled over it because he didn't take it in his stride, and then another time Bellerin got a crossing. And I just think that there's a lot of really good partnerships ready to be happening with
what I liked about look, it's one game today. So I'm not one of these people who goes one game they're great, next minute you're shit, one minute you're great. This is one game today, and what I'm going to say now is just based on this one game, right? Yeah. But I really like the system today. It was like watching when we had the Cazorla, the Fabregas, the Wiltshire, the Ramsey. It was like we had all them with the defensive midfield player who today was Xhaka, and then you had all them beautiful, quick-feeted players. It might not work in the other time, if time goes, I don't know, and he might change system. And then he had the Aubameyang up there on his own, playing further forward, and behind him you had Odegaard doing this and Saka doing that, and Smith-Rowe doing this, and they're all interchanging.
And that's the thing. I think
it was like watching Arsenal of old.
Fluid. I think what it was fluid, and I didn't worry about Aubameyang being up top because the fact that Odegaard started today, it made me think the manager's seen something in training here, because I've seen Aubameyang play up top on his own this season. And he stunk. It was 2 games he played back to back, and he just wasn't in the game. He just did. It was no movement from him. But today, it was a different energy. He was dropping to the left. He was dropping to the right. He was dropping in. It was a different Aubameyang today. And I don't know what's changed. Maybe it's been quite well documented that there was obviously an issue, a family thing. So maybe that was on his mind there, and maybe it was a little bit longer than what people had thought. But it was a different energy today.
Do you know what I think? Do you know what I think changed? Do you remember? It might have been last week, right? And we were saying that there was nobody who could pay the through ball, and there was nobody, So the front players, weren't going on to anything, and they weren't moving. They weren't.
Because they're probably frustrated at not getting that ball.
Right.
And Aubameyang's walking around like he's got. He's got the ump all the time. He's probably got the ump thinking, well, this lot ain't going to bloody find me with through balls and all like that. But now behind him today, he's got Odegaard, he's got Saka, he's got Emil Smith-Rowe, he had Sibelius. If I was going onto that pitch and I'm I'm buzzing.
Right, that's it. You've hit the nail on the head. What I was going to say is especially centre forwards, a lot of their game is confidence. If they got no confidence, they'll stink the place out. But when you're Aubameyang and you've got all those creative players behind you, you're probably thinking, "I'm going to get some chances today." You're in a good frame of mind. You're confident. You believe in the players that are behind you. Sometimes if he's seeing maybe Willian and I don't know, Pepe's a bit off form perhaps, and he's thinking, "Oh, I might not get any chances here today," but he's thinking, right. These players, I'm going to be in the game today. I'm going to get chances. I'm going to score today. Sometimes when you play up front, you can just feel that there's goals.
Nothing's happening today.
Like when he played up front previously, he was like isolated. There's no one in and around him, and you can just tell, can't you?
The rest of the team's stinking, and we're trying to look to Aubameyang to create something out of nothing.
So fair play.
But see what you had as well. You had the midfield players who were playing the games before, and what they was looking for Pepe, they was looking for William, and they was looking for Lacazette, and they was looking for. They didn't know who to bloody do it. Play it. So Aubameyang's not going to get. He's going to go out there like Jerome said, and he's going to be like. I ain't going to get all the chances today because it's going to William, it's going to Pepe, it's going to Lacazette, and they're not doing nothing. They're losing the ball. But today he's gone out there. It's all about me. It's all about me. And I've got these 5 individuals or 4 individuals behind me who can put it on a sixpence for me.
Yeah. What I also like today as well is I like that there was changes in the team. And people like Pepe have started to get into some decent run of form, scoring goals, getting some assists. He was on the bench, maybe with a view for the game against Benfica later on in the week, because he's been more of a Europa League player. But it's that it's now feels like there's a bit more of a squad because there's more players on form, and I'm sure their players will be feeding off of that. I'm sure Pepe will be looking today and thinking, okay, we won today, but I want to be in the team. So, and if you look at his mentality recently, it seems like because Pepe's had a lot of people have slung a lot of mud at Pepe and criticism. I mean, and a certain amount he deserves it, but what he does deserve is credit for the way he has been in bad form. He's picked himself up. He's carried on going. He's now playing himself into good form, and starting to build a bit of a career at Arsenal. And it looks like he's actually fighting for his spot, which I've got a lot of time for. And if you hear things from what the manager's saying, his attitude has changed. Something's clicked. His attitude has changed in training. His application, and Mikel Arteta said he's still got a long way to go. He's still got a lot to learn. He still could be better. And I like that, and it's good. It's good things what you want to hear, because you don't just.
Do you want to see that team? Do you want to see the same team getting played every week, though? Every game. No,
I want to win. I want to win.
Liverpool play the same team every time. They win. Same team.
I want to win. I want to win. If he changed it because he has to change it, or he wants to change it, or he wants to change it because he's playing against a certain team and he thinks that a certain player will sit him better in that team, then so be it. I just want to win. I don't care if he has to change. If he wants to change a player, I just want to win. Because it's, for me, it's just about getting this team back to where it needs to be. It's not a team that should be sitting anywhere. Yeah. It's just a top 4 team. Arsenal's a top 4 club. Like that's what they are. They're a top 4 club, and they should be there, and they need to be there. And they need to get back up there. I'm bored of sitting around 8th and 6th and having these conversations. Are we going to get in Europa League again? No, it's Champions League. I want to hear that music again. Yeah. Anyway, I need to get back onto this. Thomas, Steve's like, do you reckon we get onto the Leeds game? Jerome's like, we're getting onto it now.
Yes, that was my fault. That.
Thomas Tuchel wants PSG midfielder Kay's Riz Alti to follow him to Stamford Bridge. Jerome, how good is this kid? It's quite slight.
Which one's this? Is that Kay? Is this the Brazilian?
No. From PSG.
I don't know if I've looked at this guy. Sorry.
Riz Alti. Atil? Sorry. Ruiz Altil.
Yeah, I haven't looked at this guy. Sorry.
I just thought you knew every youth player in the world, Jerome. I thought you was that good. I'm just throwing names at you and hoping now. Sorry. Yeah, I'll take a step back. All right. Everton and Celtic among the clubs tracking 19-year-old Aston Villa winger Tyreek Wright. Here we go, Jerome. Man City are chasing, closing in on young Fluminense forward KK. Kiki, do you love me? What's he saying? As if that's not going to be sung from the rafters next season if he does well.
I think this one's pretty much done. This one.
Yeah, is it done now? Yeah.
Well, this is a player. This is an absolute talented player. Yeah, blinding. So I think one of the reasons Man City or the Man City scouting team are convinced that he's one of the best under 18 players in South America. 17 years old, left-footed. He's been compared to Neymar.
Yeah, I know. I heard that.
He's they think he'll probably go into Man City's youth squad rather than like straight into the first team. But his body movement, dummies, step overs. He's been compared to Neymar, a little bit like Robinho as well when he was at his best. Just a natural, exciting, talented forward player. Very excited to watch him if he does actually if he does sort of, play in Man City's first team, because he's very talented.
Yeah. Very, very one to watch, yeah?
Very talented player.
Yeah. Right, we'll definitely be hearing about him soon. Former Nice manager Patrick Vieira is among the candidates to take over at Bournemouth. Tottenham and Juventus are linked with Sampdoria and Denmark midfielder Mikkel Damsgaard. What's he saying, Jerome?
Yeah, Danish, 20 years old. He only signed for Sampdoria last Feb from a team in Denmark, but he actually only joined them this summer. So they signed him in Feb and he joined them in the summer. He can play in a variety of positions, like 4 positions, so centrally or out wide, and he takes up lots of different positions during the game as well. He's always sort of buzzing all over the pitch. He reminds me a little bit of. Do you remember we looked at that Norwegian player that signed for AC Milan, that Jen Peter?
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me a bit of it. Yeah, reminds me of him. Now he's also one of the few players in, I guess, world football that he scored a goal from his own half when he was playing back in Denmark. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It does seem like Tottenham are in for another centre midfielder, ain't they? They must be looking for a replacement for Dele Alli, because I think it was Florian Neuers, which was the Mönchengladbach player that were linked with last week. Now this one, it seems very similar type of mould in the mould of Dele Alli. So it looks like
Everyone's after that Florent Neuhaus.
Yeah. Liverpool are linked with him now. Everyone's on his case.
After him, yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of players on that kid's case. Real Madrid and Liverpool want Miro Damel from Juventus, and have had 2 bids rejected. Ryan Sessegnon has left the door open to make another move away from Tottenham after his loan spell at Hoffenheim. It seems that he wants game time there. The thing is with Ryan Sessegnon, he's another player who's a hot prospect as a youth player, and just he wasn't getting any game time. Maybe it wasn't the right move for Tottenham. AC Milan want to sign Real Madrid forward Birem Diaz, former Man City player, another Man City player, on a permanent deal after impressing on loan. Dale Upamecano has chosen to join Bayern Munich, and that has been revealed today. At last. Manchester City defender Angelo is on the verge of signing for RB Leipzig. Is that deal done, Steve?
Yeah, it's done.
It seems like a very not low price, but I mean it's a very fair price for a player that's done really well for Leipzig since he's had the loan spells out there.
He's one of these players that's gone to Germany and he's lifted off. He got quite a lot of stick off the City fans that when he was here. You got a few that was liked him, but you got just as many who didn't like him. So, but he's gone over to Germany.
It's a high bar at Man City, though, isn't it? Very high bar. And if you look at the players that are not making it at Man City, you look at the players that they're bringing in and then selling on. You'd be hard pushed to find a player that doesn't go on and spear success at the next club they go to. We've just spoken about Angelo, Birem Diaz, Jadon Sancho, even down to players like the kid at Bournemouth who was linked to a fair few clubs. Man City's just a different level.
But I mean, a good shout for Arsenal. I think we're talking about like left backs.
Yeah, I mean, very attacking left back. He just needs to sort out his defensive side of things, but attacking, he scores goals. Got a great cross on him. He's a big danger, and when it comes to Champions League, that seems to be he shines in the Champions League, which is very important. Leipzig have agreed to sign Strasbourg defender Mohamed Simkin. Bayern Munich have signed FC Dallas defender Justin Shea on loan till the end of the season. Real Madrid have asked Sergio Ramos to take a pay cut to pay Gareth Bale, according to AS. Wow. Oh, that's just like, no wonder they want to get rid of him. Hey, Sergio Ramos, yeah, man. Leicester remain interested in Bayer Leverkusen centre-back Jonathan Tah, and his fee has been reduced by $5 million. I think that would be a very good signing. A very good signing by Leicester. Leicester seems to have a top scouting system there, and I mean, with the likes of, they've got Wes Morgan still there. It's got to be his last season. Johnny Evans, has he signed an extension on his contract? But they're looking for the future, and Jonathan Tah.
He's injured again, isn't he?
Jonathan Tah, German international now on a regular basis. Still learning his trade, but a very, very good player, Jonathan Tah.
Yeah. Did you done something on him once, Jerome, on Jonathan Tah?
Seems like a long time ago now.
Yeah, it does. It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. But yeah. Once Jerome speaks, we listen. Picking you up, Jerome.
He's done money.
Do not let us down. If you give us a touch, if you give us the old, this one's special, and it turns out to be I will not be backing you anymore. Yeah, Simbin. I've not even said it today. Please press the like and subscribe button. Make sure the algorithm and all that. Make sure you get other transfer pages pop up if you press the like button. Nice and easy. There you go. Thank you very much. Arsenal technical director has made inquiries to Sporting Lisbon over forward Thiago Thomas. It was in the Sun the other day. I think 34 million. A lot of people dismissed it and said, "Oh, it's in the Sun." But no, it's true. It's true. So this is what I said previously. People have these ideas like if it's in a certain paper, it's just going to be a flat lie. That you got to get away from that mentality, people, because it's nonsense. Because you're judging the paper by its paper and not the journalist. Each paper will have different journalists, so you may have heard a lie in that paper previously, but was it the same journalist that wrote that piece? So if you're going to take enough time to point out the paper is rubbish, you should probably take time to check who the journalist that's written that rubbish piece before you just ban that with everyone who writes it. It's the same as I've said about many other papers. There's a lot of true stories in other papers, but people will dismiss it because it's in a certain paper. But it's a true story. Jerome, but the valuation was less. It was, I think, in the Sun, it was 34 million they were talking about, but the valuation that's been banned around, we've been told, is in a region of 20 million. And the deal's not close. It was an inquiry. Jerome, what's he saying?
Yeah, so he's I think he had like he had a release clause that's like even more than that, like a 50 odd million euro release clause.
That's right.
I'm a bit unsure on him, to be honest. So he's an 18-year-old centre forward and came through the ranks at Sporting Lisbon, and he's now made quite a few appearances in the first team, about sort of 18 this season so far. And he's scored a couple of goals. He's built very well for an 18-year-old. Like, he doesn't get bullied at all. Gets heavily involved in like the build-up play, and from what I've seen, he can do a little bit of everything. He can take players on, he can finish. His link-up play is very good. He doesn't strike me as someone that's like an incredible young talent. But that's just from the little bit I've seen of him. But if Arsenal were linked with someone like this, it doesn't look too good for, Balogun. Or Nketiah,
that was my first thought, but we also have to think about. I think Nketiah is gone, if I'm honest. But I think we also need to think about, is Lacazette in there long term?
Yeah,
is Lacazette going to be in that team long term? I know that Arsenal is still looking at Odsonne Edouard. He's another player that is very much in their scope. Other than that, I'm not hearing too many other names that are banded around to be that replacement for Lacazette. It seems to be very much Odsonne Edouard, and then nothing really else other than that. And then we hear this story a couple of days ago. So I do think they're thinking long term. Whether this comes through, as we said, it was just an inquiry. But
a lot of people jump on the bandwagon. I mean, I see people saying, you're getting this guy in, we've got Balogun, let's sack him.
I know, this is nonsense about, this is another reason why I get rid of it.
You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Firstly, it's only an inquiry, like Keir said. I mean, secondly, Balogun might want to go. They might not want to be at Arsenal. They might not want to go. They might want to. So Edo can't. People can't do anything about that. If a player wants to leave.
Yeah.
But, think people sometimes.
I hear so much. This is why Edu needs to get the sack. This is why Edu needs to sack. Did Edu need to get the sack for helping get rid of Ozil, Kolasinac, Mustafi, Socrates, putting Willock on loan, Ainsley Maitland-Niles on loan? I think 13 players went out in the January transfer window. Does Edu need to get the sack for that? Edu needs to get credit for that, but he doesn't, because it's his job. It's his job, so fine, he gets no credit. But people are very quick. As soon as a story comes out, this is why he needs to get the sack. This is why he needs to go. Yeah. It's like, do you think before you type? Like, it's not why he needs to go.
No, don't think.
He's just looking at a player, and he's looking at a prospect. Could this kid be a talent? Now, in 2 years' time, if this kid is regarded as one of the best prospects in the world and Real Madrid want him, are you going to be saying, it's why he needs to go, can't finish his dinner, can't close a deal, can't close a door, let alone a deal? It's like I swear, you just can't win. You just can't win. It's
Can't.
nonsense.
But we're trying to educate the people, not in a a thingy way, not in a we're better than you way, just in a way how it's done.
Yeah, do you know what it is? It's just, I think a lot of people say things with no information or misinformation, and I think it's just one of them things that if you've got information about the situation, then tell it, and then you can get more of a rounded view. It's like I've made comments before without having full information on something, but when I have got that information, I've then changed my mind, and then not backtracked, not flip-flopped, changed my mind because I've been told more information about the situation. Yeah, and to sit there and stand by what you said previously, which you know is probably wrong, just because you don't want to be seen as changing your view on something, is stupid. Is stupid.
Sometimes sometimes that we're all guilty of that. I mean, I was talking to Jordi Alba's agent, thinking it was David Attenborough's agent. So it happens. It happens.
All right, Manchester United have earmarked Seville defender Jules Koundé as one of their top targets after losing out on Data Upamecano. Is that me done? It's me done. All right, Jerome, I didn't give you any more players, did I?
No, I think that's
That was it. All right. Thank you very much. Let's go to the comment section quickly. Hello, Mihal. How you doing, mate? Brendan Rodgers is Man United bound. It's not a bad shout. But I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's going anywhere soon unless anything seriously drastic happens. How you doing, Oliver? I thought this is a funny one as well. So yesterday when
did have a good game today.
Yesterday when we posted about the Ceballos valuation of 22 million for Ceballos, which has gone down by half from last season. Yeah. So many responses were, nah, it's rubbish. We're done. And then today, it was like some people went back to the post and said, you know what? Yeah, get him decent valuation as well, good price. Always rated him.
Fair play to you. Fair play to them people. Fair play.
Jerome, do you take Ceballos for 22 million?
Personally, I wouldn't. I think he's a nice player, but for me, he wouldn't be one of my starters in midfield. And I'd rather spend that 22 million on someone else that's going to go straight into the first team. I think positionally in a 2, he's not the greatest. He goes wandering a bit. Not for me, I'm afraid.
Glowing reference there from Jerome.
Just my honest view on it. Do you
I think
think
it's his inconsistency for me?
Yes, it is. No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like if he was to play like today all the time, then I'd say 22 million definitely no problem. But he's proved on the with the time that he's been here that he's too inconsistent for 22 million.
Do you know the weird thing? It's like it's almost as if it's the same point again where Daniel Ceballos' form seems to be picking up. It's like we went so long early in the season. We had a really good start at Newcastle in the first season. It was like Danny Ceballos disappeared and wasn't getting in the team. Then when Danny Ceballos was coming, he kind of stunk the place out a little bit. But that could have been just because of his inconsistent play, stop-start, so I understand that. But then after lockdown and the break, he came back. He was a different person, and he was excellent in pretty much every game. This spin bios rubbish was working, spinning off of players, getting into positions, creating goals, scoring goals. I think it's called but creating goals. But it's just you worry that if you buy him in, are you going to get that same player that you did for the first part of this season again, which you had last season, and then starts to pick it up towards the end.
He might want to show. He might want to show that he's better than Odegaard, so he can go into the Real Madrid midfield.
Maybe. But do you think Arsenal could bring in a player for 22 million that would fit into the first team straight away? Because
I don't know. I don't know if it's about.
It's not a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's that exactly what I meant. I think it's just that with a central midfielder that plays in that position, I think with Ceballos, he has moments that are like outstanding. But you want those moments of if you're going to have a player that's going to be inconsistent and give you moments that are outstanding, you want that from like a winger, not from like an important midfielder. Midfielder has got to be like solid consistent. And not make.
You'd rather have sevens.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't. Go on, mate.
So it's not as if I would say I'd spend 22 on a different player, but I'd put 22 million towards maybe another player. So if it's a 30 million pound player, I'd stick 22 plus a bit more towards a player that I want to come in and be a starter. Because I think what Arsenal need, like we were saying, like I think Steve was saying about the Liverpool team, that they hardly changed their team. One of the reasons is that because their best 11 is obvious. Arsenal's best 11. You can sort of dispute it, can't you? You can't really dispute Liverpool's best 11. Everyone knows their best right back, left back, centre back pairing, midfield, their front three. With Arsenal, it's a bit like you're not too sure.
Yeah. I think going back to the. I think what Liverpool have, which is slightly different as well. I think that Liverpool didn't have that depth in squad to swap that player out because. If you think about the situation, which is why they're partly in the situation they are in now, because they've had 11 strong for 2 seasons solid, they've now got to a position where their reserves or backup are not good enough or are not getting enough game time, or they're now coming now and being asked to play week in, week out, and they're picking up injuries. So they're in a bit of a state. So clubs... They need to have that big squad, which is why Manchester City is sort of coming through now. Okay, it worked with Liverpool last season, but long term, that's not going to work. You can't fight on 4 fronts doing that either. So it's as you saw with Liverpool, because even the top teams that have won the league, they generally win a double. They generally do something in a cup as well, but Liverpool didn't seem to do that either. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool got an excellent squad. They're starting to bring in. They're starting to bring in more depth, which in the long run will help them out. I mean,
they'll probably be better off next season. Liverpool.
Yeah, I think they will be.
They're just getting found out. Klopp's just beginning to see now that he when so and so is injured, that he needs to get in someone of a bit of class.
Yeah,
to replace them, and I think he's given up this season, and I think. That's his aim for next season.
It should never be a top team. It's slightly different for the lower teams that you lose one player and your team falls apart. Not if you're a top team. It should never be that. So the excuse of Van Dijk being injured, I don't want to hear it because your club doesn't revolve around one player. And although Van Dijk is a Ballon d'Or level player, your team shouldn't crumble just because of Van Dijk. And I know it hasn't because there's been a multitude of players missing, but that seems to be the main crux of it.
And that's probably why Man United is sitting second, because they're probably the closest team to
squad-wise.
Side where you can bring in someone if someone's injured. If someone's Pogba's in, you can bring in Van der Beek. If someone
and I think that'll be the next new thing.
You can bring in Greenwood.
Yeah,
and that's if the A is in, you could bring in Henderson, and that seems to be happening all over, and that's why they're sitting second. It's not as good as Man City's.
And I think you're going to see that more often with clubs now. They're going to start trying to expand their squad better, so they've got more depth, so they can alternate players. They can bring in players in certain games, and you've still got that level up there. like with Man United, like with Man City, like you're seeing Liverpool do it with bringing in the likes of Minamino and still talking about bringing players.
Would you accept someone coming in for £22,000 who's not necessarily a first team starter, but would replace a first team starter and would be consistent every time?
Playing like a seven, like a Henderson, that kind of
consistency. So have you got like Fabinho's injured and they're bringing Naby Keita? Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, possibly. I just think the position that Arsenal are in now, I think their signings they need to make need to be players that the manager views as his first choice left winger. Because if you start, because I think the problem with Arsenal, Arsenal have been signing a lot of players that they'll beef up the squad, but they're not going to necessarily be the sort of first, not
take the position of the person in that spot.
Yeah, like you're not signing the elite. You're signing like, an example. He's doing a job at the moment, but signing like a Cedric, like he'll do a job for you, but you're not going to win the league with him as your first choice right or left back. Like Arsenal need to sign someone that is like the Partey and the Gabriel signing has been excellent, because I think they're players that they go straight into your first team and they make a big difference.
Well, maybe they should look at a Dortmund and maybe getting a Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it goes kind of against what you're saying that he's going to be the first team starter, but you bring in a Jude Bellingham, he's going to be a first team starter maybe next season or season after. He's going to be like, when you've already got someone in there, you've got a Partey in there doing that, you've got Smith Rowe in there doing that. They're going to have to get a replacement for Odegaard. Whether it's Odegaard or a replacement for Odegaard, someone that can play in that 8 and a 10. So if you bring in a Jude Bellingham, you're buying for the future, but he's already also a player that could be in there because he's playing in at Dortmund.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'd go and get Donny van de Beek. I'd go and get Van de Beek.
Oh, yeah. Mate, you probably had to get Donny van de Beek for 22 mil as well.
If I'm
at the moment.
I'm asking questions, to be honest with you.
Well, the thing is, those questions were asked in the summer, but Man United stumped up the cash straight away. So the questions were asked, but it was Arsenal put in an inquiry for Van de Beek, but Man United were quick on the ball.
So
he does have to be a starter.
He's more of a Odegaard type player.
But do you think that, and we've been through this before, but do you think that Donny van de Beek was told honestly that the situation that he'd be in now? Because I think that if he came into an Arsenal team, okay, even if he wasn't a starter, you're looking around, you're in that squad. Whereas you're looking at Man United and they're still talking about bringing in another centre midfielder. They're still talking about bringing in a Jack Grealish. Whereas if you're coming to an Arsenal, you are looking and thinking, I'm in this team because they're still building.
I think it's Van de Beek. I think if you get Van, I mean, this is all in hindsight, and you wouldn't have had a crystal ball, when you would have bought him. But if Van de Beek would have came in, to me, he would have played in that number 10 type role, number 8 type role around there.
Yeah.
And Emil Smith Rowe would have been the player who would have been the one who would have come on to, they would have alternated.
Who's to say?
We know what Emil Smith Rowe's done since then, but we wouldn't have known that.
Who's to say? Look, I've said it so many times. Football's very much about timing, and I don't know if Arsenal bring in a number 10 or someone in that position that Smith Rowe gets any game time this season. I think Smith Rowe was brought in through circumstance over really wanting to, no matter what the manager says. I think it was a situation where he wasn't, to say he was left with no option kind of takes away from the manager's decision, because he was left with an option because there's still Willian, but he was left with, I can't keep flogging this dead horse. Knowing full well he doesn't want to be here, and knowing full well that he ain't playing to the levels we know he can. So I'm bringing this kid in. It's still the manager's decision. I'm not taking that away from Arteta. It's still the manager's decision, and he's got it's a big it's a big ask for the situation that Arteta was in to breast that pressure on Emil Smith-Rowe's shoulders. But I don't think if a Donny van der Beek there was here, I don't think that Smith-Rowe was even getting a sniff, if I'm honest. So I'm glad the situation is what it is now, and we've gone through, and hopefully we can come out the other end, finish this season well, and then go into next season with a war chest in the summer. And I don't see it, but but I hold my breath every summer, and I'm hoping that Arsenal can do bits in this window. Thank you very much, the Governor. I would get Danny Ings. He knows the Premiership. Great again, lads. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much for everyone who joined us tonight. It's Andy Hampson from Man City, Abbi Summers from Tottenham, and Nathan Ellington, Man United. Three top guests. Nathan's not a guest anymore. He's part of the team, as I always say. Please press the like and subscribe button. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Steve.
Yeah, thanks for everyone out there. Thanks for joining us. Cheers, Kieran.
All right, make sure you go and follow these guys here. Go and give them a shout out. As we said previously, if you've got any players that you want Jerome to review, if you know a gem that no one knows about and you want Jerome to give it a player profile on the show, throw it in the comment section now, throw it in the comment section after the show when it gets uploaded, or just hit us up on the page. Write it anywhere. Everyone else bloody well does. I mean, every transfer we put up, there's always someone asking about another transfer. So just join in as well. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thanks very much for joining us tonight, Jerome.
Cheers, pleasure. Cheers, boys.
All right. And thanks everyone for joining us. Peace out.